Let's get it. 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. 3 hours of sports coming at you on the sports voice of Kansas. We are with you until 6 o'clock and then a little overtime here on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com and on the YouTube live stream. We are streaming on our YouTube channel, 580 Sports Talk. We are also streaming on Facebook at WIBW News. My name is Dan Lucero. I'll be with you throughout. Spencer Dupuis will join us in just a little bit. Brendan Dworzinski remains on paternity leave. Let's get it indeed to our video viewers, our YouTube live chatters. Anybody knows where that comes from? If anybody can read my mind and tell me where or who I stole that from. To introduce each hour of 580 Sports Talk each day. Brendan's told you the genesis of his hourly intro when he has the opportunity to host the show. But I don't know if I've ever shared mine. Maybe I have, maybe I haven't. But if you know it, drop it in the YouTube live chat. I want to see maybe if anybody remembers. Anyhow, it's great to be with you. We have got a jam-packed 3 hours, a great guest list as always on a Thursday. Rick Peterson of TopSports.news is going to join us at the bottom of this hour for the local sports spotlight. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on what's happening in the Shawnee County high school scene. Did you know that in the most recent KBCA, that's the Kansas Basketball Coaches Association, top 10 girls and boys basketball polls by class, if there are 10 schools in Shawnee County, it's 8 city schools now because Care Paravel is a Acacia school, plus Silver Lake and Rossville. So 10 schools, boys and girls teams, that's 20 teams. Half of them are ranked. Do you guys know that? 10 of the 20 teams in the city are top 10 teams. There's really good basketball happening in the city. There were big games earlier this week. War on 24. There's a big game tomorrow night. Top 10 matchup at the Charger Dome, Topeka West and Shawnee Heights. That is our 580 Preps game of the week. The girls game at 5:30. The boys game to follow tomorrow night here on 580 WIBW. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on all of that. Plus the number 2 team in the country, the Washburn-Ichabod men's basketball team, as they return from San Antonio with a couple of wins in hand and an unblemished 11-0 record. We'll get Pistol's thoughts on that. They go to Warrensburg, Missouri on Saturday. I'll be there deputizing one more time for Brendan on the call of Washburn-Ichabod basketball, the women and the men playing against the Jennies and the Mules on Saturday afternoon. So that's coming up bottom of this hour, Rick Peterson. Bottom of the 4 o'clock hour, Paul Myerberg, our final Big 12 football breakdown of the season. And really today will be more of a college football playoff breakdown. We'll get Paul's thoughts on all 4 of the first round matchups, which are coming up this weekend. There's a Friday night game, Indiana, Notre Dame, and the other 3 first round games are on Saturday. We'll get Paul's breakdown on all of those, plus his pick to win it all. And we'll do some other stuff as well. Have some fun with Paul on the way out this year. Always enjoy talking to Paul throughout the college football season. One more time with Paul Myerberg of USA Today, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour today. Then at 5:25, the voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus, will join us. We will get Mitch's thoughts on another Chiefs victory from Sunday at Cleveland and a look ahead and a preview in classic Mitch Holthus style with some statistical nuggets that make you sound smart when you bring them up when you're watching the game with your buddies on Saturday when the Chiefs take on the Houston Texans. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us at 5:25 or so. So that's the guest list. We'll be talking amongst us here on 580 Sports Talk. We're going to talk about what the Chiefs' game plan should look like now that we know that Patrick Mahomes will play. He has no injury designation on the final participation report of the week. So that means, barring an unforeseen setback tomorrow, Patrick Mahomes will be under center as the Chiefs take on the Texans. And he'll have Hollywood Brown in the lineup with him for the first time since the first snap of the preseason. As the offseason acquisition, Hollywood Brown is ready to roll. He has practiced in full all week, and he does not have an injury designation, so he will play on Saturday. So what should the Chiefs' game plan look like, knowing that they have one of their receiving weapons back, but they also have a quarterback who is dealing with a sprained ankle, and they are going up against a defense that I don't know if you guys understand how good Houston is defensively. This is an elite defense that the Chiefs are dealing with by the numbers. We'll break it down and talk some Chiefs-Texans to start the show today. Also, Bill Barnwell of ESPN.com did a ranking of the biggest mistakes made by each respective NFL team over the last 5 seasons, since 2020. What do you think he said the biggest mistake the Chiefs made was? Do you think that he's right in saying that it was the biggest mistake? And just how big was it relative to some other personnel misfires or draft day blunders or ill-begotten trades that have been made by other organizations in the last 5 seasons? Bill Barnwell's usually on point. I happen to think he was on point today. We'll talk about that a little bit later on. In the 4 o'clock hour, did you all see the Athletic report today about Jets ownership and Jets owner Woody Johnson and his rowdy teen sons who might actually be running the team? It doesn't seem real, frankly, the details from this story reported out by The Athletic and published this morning, that an NFL owner vetoed a trade because he didn't think the player had a high enough rating on the Madden video game. But that is a thing that Woody Johnson, owner of the Jets for many years, former ambassador to the United Kingdom, that's a thing he did. Turned down a trade because he didn't like the player's Madden rating. And honestly, there's even worse details in the story than that. If you can imagine anything being worse than the idea of an owner stepping in and overriding a general manager because he didn't like the player's Madden rating, there's actually worse stuff in there than that. And it leads to a larger discussion. If the Jets aren't the worst organization in professional sports, who the hell is? And what do all poorly run organizations have in common? What do they have in common? I think there's like an obvious answer to that, but there's also maybe a less obvious answer that I think is interesting. And I think is a reason that when we think about just bad franchises, we only really talk about them in 2 of the 4 major sports. So we'll get into that later on the 4 o'clock hour, maybe have a little fun with that. And Spencer will be with us by then. And I know that he will enjoy having that conversation without including his favorite football team, which was not the case for, 2 decades, roughly. So Spencer will enjoy getting to participate in a Washington football free version of the discussion. Who is the worst organization in sports? So that's coming up, plus all of the things you've come to know and love from a Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk. We'll have headlines, top of the 5 o'clock hour. We'll do What Is Wrong With You. We got Either Or Over Under coming up later on this hour. It's all still to come here on 580 Sports Talk. And if you would like to interact with the program today, you are more than welcome to do so. Best way to do that right now, jump in the YouTube live chat. If you have not watched the show on YouTube before, what better day to start than today, especially if you're at work and you are running out the clock on this week before Christmas. Likely for you, if you have a desk job, you're not going to get a whole lot of work done right now. And you're not going to do a whole lot of work next week either. Let's just keep it real with each other. Hey, look, we're not doing a whole lot of work next week. We're taking 3 days off. We got 24th through the 26th off here on 580 Sports Talk. So no, you're running out the clock. You're sitting at the desk. You're playing Minesweeper or whatever, and you're listening to the show. You got your radio, or you're at 580WIBW.com. Why not watch the YouTube if you haven't before? Go over to 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. That is our channel. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't. We are inching closer to 700 subscribers. It would be very funny if we could get there while Brendan Dworzynski was off the air as an on-running bit on the program. So subscribe to the YouTube if you have not already. And once you're over there watching the show on YouTube, whether you're doing so on your web browser, your mobile device, or whatever you've got, There's a live chat feature, and you can chat with us, your hosts, throughout the show. You can also interact with your fellow listeners. It's a really neat way to grow community around 580 Sports Talk. We appreciate those who are in the chat. We got the regulars in. It's a little like Cheers now, where we know who the regulars are, who join us at the top of the show. Marks are in, both of them, Mark H and Mark B. We see Jeffrey, we see Vance. We've got more to come, I'm sure, as we go on throughout the day today. If you're in and want a shout out, drop, just type in that live chat. We'll give you a shout out on the show as we get rolling here on this Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. But let's get into Chiefs-Texans. We'll, of course, have our full preview on tomorrow's show. Matt Derrick will join us. We'll do our keys to the game, big Chief picks, all that good stuff. But remember on Monday when I mentioned that it sure didn't feel like our friends in the desert thought that Patrick Mahomes was going to play on Saturday? And the reason I was able to suss that out, I'm not a mastermind detective or anything. It was just real obvious. Why else would the Chiefs ever be underdogs at home? I'm not sure the Chiefs, even these Chiefs, these frustrating Chiefs, I don't think they'd be home underdogs to the 85 Bears. But they were home underdogs early this week. They were 2.5-point underdogs, in fact. Anywhere you could find that line, that was the line. Prairie Band Sportsbook, any of the ones you keep in your pocket and have your portable sports book on your phone. Houston plus 2.5 was the consensus line. Do you know what the line is today? At Prairie Band and elsewhere, Chiefs minus 3.5. Order is restored because Patrick Mahomes has no injury designation on the participation report, which means he is a full go. He will play on Saturday afternoon. So if you ever wondered how much Patrick Mahomes was worth, at least in this matchup, do the math. He's worth a whole touchdown over Carson Wentz. Even in the worst season of his career, Patrick Mahomes is worth a touchdown on the Vegas line, because it was Houston 2.5 when they didn't think he was playing. And now it's Chiefs 3.5 when they know Mahomes is playing. But over the course of this, I was thinking about if Mahomes couldn't have gone and it had to be Carson Wentz, what would the game plan for the Chiefs look like? And honestly, I'm not sure there's much difference between the game plan you put in for Carson Wentz and the game plan you put in for an injured Patrick Mahomes. Because the idea is to protect your quarterback when you have to play your backup. And the idea should be protecting your quarterback when you are playing an injured starter. How do you protect your quarterback? In the literal sense, you don't let him get hit. You block well up front, all that good stuff. But how do you keep him from taking hits? You run the ball effectively, and you run it with urgency, and you run it stubbornly. You don't give up on it if you have some early struggles. That takes pressure off the quarterback. That keeps this pass rush of Houston's, which is one of the best and most prolific in football, from putting Mahomes on his backside. Quick passes also have to be a big part of your game plan on Saturday. I've mentioned the numbers. I did the digging on this. I timed every drop back for Patrick Mahomes against the Browns. And every time Mahomes took the snap and got rid of the ball in under 2 seconds, the Chiefs had success. Mahomes was 12 of 14 making those throws, and the Chiefs gained over 8 yards per completion when Mahomes got the ball out in less than 2 seconds. Now, a lot of those plays, those are yards after the catch. That's creation after the fact being done by guys like Isaiah Pacheco out of the backfield, or Samaje Perine out of the backfield, or Xavier Worthy down the field, or Juju Smith-Schuster with that short toss that he took around the end for a touchdown, the Chiefs' first touchdown in their win on Sunday. So it's not anything Mahomes is going to get a lot of credit for. It's going to hurt his average depth of target number, but the Chiefs appear to be pretty good at those plays and have some guys who, when they take the ball on short passes, can turn those plays into effective, successful, remember what we talked about yesterday, successful plays. 40% of the yards you need on first down, 60% of the yards you need on second down, all the yards you need on third and fourth. Successful plays. Only two teams in the NFL run more successful plays than the Chiefs. And the ability after the catch of guys like Worthy and Pacheco and even Juju, and even it's obviously diminished, but even a guy like Travis Kelce able to lean forward, create even an extra yard or two on a short completion, that all adds up. So those plays are right now, they're the best plays, I think, for the Chiefs. Other thing you would do if you had a backup quarterback, if you're protecting your quarterback, roll the pocket, trust your veteran receivers like Kelce, like Smith-Schuster, to find some windows on some half-field reads. It's what you call the half-field read, where you roll the pocket, and so you're not doing a throwback necessarily unless the play takes forever. And, I mean, you've seen Mahomes do it, and he can. You give him the carte blanche to do that because he's Patrick Mahomes. But when you roll the pocket, generally you're cutting the field in half. And a lot of times you're going to need somebody to sit down in a window and get the ball there with some velocity. You know Mahomes is capable of that. You know guys like Kelce and Juju and DeAndre Hopkins are experienced receivers who could done the film study and know where they have to sit and set up and make sure that they can catch the ball and keep the chains moving. I suspect that's what we're going to see, because what you can't have is a bunch of straight dropbacks allowing the Texans to tee off on Mahomes, because given the chance, they will. This is not a good defense for the Texans. This is an elite defense. Remember the nerd numbers we brought up yesterday about the Chiefs offense, expected points added? The Texans defense is third in the NFL in expected points added per play against. Only Minnesota and Denver rank higher than Houston does. Houston is also second in EPA per play against the pass, sixth against the run. Houston forces turnovers, 28 of them, in fact, second most in the NFL, behind only the Bills. And 25 of those turnovers have been forced in their last 9 games. So they only forced 3 in their first 5 games this season. They have forced 25 in the last 9 games, including 5 of those games they have forced 3 or more turnovers. Now, the Chiefs have gotten really good about taking better care of the football in recent weeks. Mahomes has, the running backs and the ball carriers have. Bit of an irresistible force meeting a movable object thing there. A Texans defense that thrives on turnovers, a Chiefs team that doesn't give them away. Who's going to win that particular battle? The other thing Houston does is they sack the quarterback more than any other team in the league but one. They are second in the league with 45 sacks, and that is the number. That is the accumulation you cannot allow to have happen against Patrick Mahomes. And so Mahomes is keenly aware, too, and we talked about this coming out of Sunday's game, that Mahomes has verbalized his own errors, his own faults when it comes to taking hits, getting sacks. You know, there's an adage, I don't know how old it is, but there is an adage that sacks are not an offensive line stat. Sacks are a quarterback stat. So he used to say that about Russell Wilson a lot. Like, wow, man, Russell Wilson, for such a mobile quarterback, why does he take so many sacks? The offensive line in front of him must not be very good. Well, some years it was better than others. It was generally pretty average to below average. Never had great offensive lines in front of him in Seattle. But the reason he took a bunch of sacks is because he would hold the ball too long sometimes. And sometimes he would scramble into sacks. And those numbers would accumulate. And as he lost a bit of his athleticism over the years, those sacks added up and added up. So to say that sacks are a quarterback stat just means that a quarterback is responsible for getting rid of the ball. And there are some plays where there's nothing a quarterback can do. Like we saw a couple of occasions where it was Myles Garrett just winning one-on-one, or when Wanye Morris would get beat one-on-one by, you know, future Hall of Famers like Nick Bonito and Kayvon Chasen. You had no chance. And when you're a quarterback, there's nothing you can do about that. But a lot of the sacks that Mahomes have taken, we've referred to them as coverage sacks. Sometimes that's a quarterback taking a sack he doesn't need to take because the ball's not coming out. Because you're not doing the thing that Mahomes has gotten so good at in the last couple of seasons after the loss of Tyreek Hill from the roster. And that is, another cliche, taking what the defense gives him. taking what the defense gives him. Mahomes has, by his own admission, gotten too far away from this concept over the last few weeks. There's some video of him holding the ball too long and taking deep shots when there are open crossers underneath that can get yards and move the chains. And Mahomes has gotten a little bit greedy. Now, look, I've been behind this microphone saying that's what Mahomes needed to do. That's what this Chiefs offense had to try to do, was take the tops off of defenses, was to be explosive, because they didn't have an explosive element in the running game and they weren't getting explosive plays in the passing game. They needed to try harder for those. Well, they ain't there, at least not right now. At least they haven't been. One way to maybe add them back in, the reintroduction of Hollywood Brown. So this is an interesting dichotomy, and it will be interesting to see which of the two wolves inside Patrick Mahomes, so to speak, wins on Saturday. Will it be, I'm hurt, I can't afford to take the hits, I've got to get the ball out, and if that means I'm checking down all afternoon and picking up 6 yards per reception, then that's just what I'm going to have to do? Or is it the same Mahomes we've seen now for about the last month, where he feels like those big plays are there? And if you watch the film, Stephen Ruiz did a really good breakdown of this over at The Ringer today. There's lots of really good video in his article over at The Ringer. We've had Stephen Ruiz on the program before. Good NFL writer, knows his stuff. And he's got some video that shows the Chiefs are getting guys open down the field. And Mahomes is either just missing them, or the pocket is just collapsing just a hair too soon, just as the player is getting open. The timing is just a little bit off. And is Mahomes thinking, this is the time? This is the time the timing is going to be in sync, and I'm going to hit Hollywood Brown for 60 yards, or I'm going to hit Xavier Worthy for a walk-in touchdown on a post corner because he's about to run away from the safety. Which one will it be? Which version of Patrick Mahomes will we see? Will we see the one resigned to the reality that the deep pass has not worked for him this year, it has not worked for the offense, and that he has to protect himself? And that's more important than winning the game on Saturday, frankly, is his health. Or, with Hollywood Brown back in the fold, are the Chiefs going to be willing to try and touch the stove and see if those big plays are there with an extra field stretcher on the field for however many snaps it is that Hollywood Brown gets? I don't know how many snaps it's going to be, frankly. It wasn't a leg injury he's coming off of. I don't think you need to manage his legs unless he's just completely out of shape. I'm sure he's been running for a while now. I wouldn't be surprised to see him get a decent number of snaps. But that's my big question, because this is a really, really good defense. They tackle well. They heat up the quarterback. They get sacks. They don't have a very high pressure rate relatively. The Chiefs get more pressure as a percentage of pass plays than the Texans do, but the Texans have way more sacks. They finish the deal. And they've got two edge rushers, Will Anderson and Danielle Hunter, with double-digit sacks. Coming at Jawan Taylor and probably Joe Tooney at left tackle again, because DJ Humphries has been ruled out. What does that even allow the Chiefs offensively to do? And what kind of game will Patrick Mahomes play? What kind of game will Andy Reid scheme for Patrick Mahomes? It's genuinely fascinating. I'm really interested to see what the Chiefs offense looks like, even if it hasn't looked like a whole lot of fun for the better part of the first 14 weeks at times. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, is Clyde Edwards-Helaire the biggest mistake the Chiefs have made in the last 5 years? We'll talk about why that question came up today here as we are getting started on this Thursday edition of 580 Sports Talk.
Lights, presented by Evergy at the Topeka Zoo, is going on now. Bigger and brighter than ever. New sections of Twinkly Lights, whimsical displays, and festive themes. Don't miss Santa Claus in the holiday haven. Warm up with hot chocolate and favorite delicious treats like s'mores, popcorn, pretzels, pies, waffles, and more. Adults can enjoy special spirit warming drinks. Make more holiday memories and start new traditions at Zoo Lights. Tickets are on sale now at topekazoo.org.
Dunco is a proud partner of Anthony Plumbing, Heating, Cooling, and Electric. The partnership brings a trusted whole home approach with quality plumbing, heating, cooling, and electric services to Lawrence and surrounding communities. When your home is well cared for, you have comfort and peace of mind. This month, replace your HVAC system and receive a free whole home humidifier. Schedule a complimentary assessment online at duncohc.com.
You don't hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you at home. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocate is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-4122. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. Generous programs are now available that can give you a fresh start. Our passion is taxing and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have over 1,000 5-star reviews on Google and an A+ with a better business experience. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmares today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-4122. That's 800-575-4122. Tax Relief Advocate. Real solutions for real people.
That's what I'm doing with every day.
If only business notification that tax return by checking all state first, like you know check that your seats are in the video section.
Action cyclist then for you guys tickets. Wait, are we on the wrong side?
Yeah, check the list. So check all state first for tickets they need to.
It's gonna be a long day.
You're in good hands with all state.
WIDW Topeka.
.333 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis with you this fine Thursday afternoon. Rick Peterson, TopSports.news, coming up in just a little bit. But first, Bill Barnwell of ESPN is a writer whose work we cite often on the program. Always enjoy reading his commentary, his thoughts, and his lists sometimes that he'll put out on ESPN.com. Today's list was the worst mistakes for all 32 NFL teams since 2020. To give you an idea, the banner image is Raiders coach Josh McDaniels, Ravens wide receiver Odell Beckham Jr., Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers, and Broncos quarterback Russell Wilson. All of those rank very highly on the list. None of them are the number one mistake any team has made in the last 5 years. That, of course, would be the Deshaun Watson trade for the Cleveland Browns. For the Chiefs, their biggest mistake, according to Bill Barnwell, and I tried to play along. Like I opened up the article and I said, I wonder if the biggest Chiefs mistake is going to be either. I thought it could be one of two things. I thought it could be the first round pick on Clyde Edwards-Helaire, or I thought it could be the 4 years, $88 million to Juwan Taylor, which right now does not look like a particularly wise investment of the money.
Oh yeah,
but it was Clyde Edwards-Helaire listed as the biggest mistake. And Barnwell writes, at the time, this was seen as a luxury pick for a team stocked everywhere and therefore could justify using a first-round pick on a running back. Edwards-Helaire seemed like another playmaker who could excel with Mahomes. It didn't quite work out that way. Edwards-Helaire ran for 138 yards in his NFL debut, but after he failed to score on 6 touches inside the 3-yard line, Andy Reid seemed to immediately lose faith in him near the red zone. A critical fumble early in 2021 against the Ravens further shook the Chiefs amid a series of injuries. In 2021 and 22, he lost his starting job to Isaiah Pacheco. And while it felt as if the Chiefs could afford a luxury pick, they missed out on a number of superior options who went at the top of the second round. The next 2 running backs off the board were DeAndre Smith and Jonathan Taylor. Among the next 10 selections were safety Xavier McKinney and guard Robert Hunt. Pro Bowlers such as Antoine Winfield Jr., Jalen Johnson, Trevon Diggs weren't far behind. In fact, the very next player drafted after Edwards-Helaire has tormented the Chiefs personally. That, of course, would be T. Higgins of the Cincinnati Bengals. Look, it's the 32nd pick in the first round, and many years there are not 32 first-round talents. Everybody who evaluates the draft would tell you that. But that being said, I do think Barnwell nails it here. In terms of opportunity cost, there have been other head-scratching moves. Brett Veach, very good at his job, but he's not batting 1,000. There have been some strange moves of future third-day draft picks for players who never get on the field. Remember Neil Farrell? Remember Cam Thomas? Hell, remember Joshua Uche? Those guys can't get on the field for the Chiefs, and future third-round picks were traded for all of those guys. When I say can't get on the field, past tense. Neil Farrell's not in the organization anymore. Cam Thomas with the Browns. He played for the Browns on Sunday. But those moves where it's a 5th or a 6th, usually a 6th-round pick, for a guy that doesn't contribute, those are mostly an annoyance.
Yeah.
Even missing with a first-round pick, even if it is the 32nd one, that's far more frustrating. And it is disappointing that Clyde Edwards-Helaire never lived up to the billings. I thought it was a great fit for what the Chiefs wanted to do, and I thought he was going to have a great Chiefs career. And unfortunately, never turned out that way for Clyde. We got to take a quick break. Rick Peterson, TopSports.news, joins us next for the local sports spotlight on 580 Sports Talk.
I'm Chad Robinson with Your Money Now. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration deciding against seeking an immediate...
Hey, get me out of program 3 and back in. Take everything out of program 3, drop it back in.
Assembled by 13 different automakers. Their investigation into the matter will instead continue. The issue has been linked to 1 U.S. fatality and 7 injuries following an 8-year government investigation. On Wall Street, stocks finished the session mixed, with the Dow bouncing back from its first 10-day losing streak since 1974. It gained 15 points today. The S&P 500 and NASDAQ fell 5 and 19 points, respectively. The FDA says the active ingredient in Eli Lilly's weight loss drug Zepbound is no longer in shortage, a decision that will eventually bar compounding pharmacies from making unbranded versions of that injection. Currently, U.S. crude oil futures for January delivery down 1% under $70 a barrel. That's Your Money Now.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down. Izervay is proven to slow GA progression. Izervay or vasocamptic paper.
Goddamn Congress took out the RFK stadium site legislation in the bill that's going to be voted on tonight.
Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today. Visit Izervay.com. That's Izervay.com. Getting quality employees to fill positions in your company is essential.
Hey, why are we hot?
It can be a major hassle unless you use ZipRecruiter. ZipRecruiter makes finding quality people a breeze. ZipRecruiter's advanced technology.
I don't know.
Check your settings. Check your settings.
Great matches. Then you can easily invite them to apply. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. See for yourself. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/free to try ZipRecruiter for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
It's in. It's supposed to be in the real tech high definition, right?
WIVW, Topeka. Rick Peterson.
Your eyes, those hearts.
Can't lose. The football to the Packers, because they were tough. And that makes me
We are joined by the great Rick Peterson of TopSports.news for the local sports spotlight. We do it every Thursday at this time on 580 Sports Talk. Get Pistol's insight into Shawnee County High School athletics as well as the Washburn Ichabod. Follow Pistol on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. And again, if you are a local sports fan here in Shawnee County, TopSports.news is an essential daily read. Pistol, let's talk high school hoops. 20 teams in Shawnee County, girls and boys. 10 of them are ranked in their respective classes by the KBCA. There is a ton of local basketball talent, and it's getting exciting to see it out on the floor. Some really good early results. Which team maybe has turned your head the most with some of their early results so far?
I didn't know exactly what they had. And, Briar Finley basically missed the whole season last year. They got him back. We know Kayvon Bonner is very good. The thing that impressed me the most was their win over at Topeka West last Friday. And their only loss so far was to a very good Piper team. So they got my eye right off the back just because I didn't know what to expect.
Certainly for Seaman, that was an impressive win last Friday at the Charger Dome against Topeka West. And just as impressive was West's ability to bounce back and go beat last year's 5A runners-up from Piper in the game on the road on Tuesday night. So the United Kansas Conference, we knew it was going to be good, and it has certainly lived up to the billing in terms of its depth at the top of the league so far.
Yes. And, hey, I'm really looking forward to tomorrow night when West hosts Shawnee Heights. And those are two of the best. And I really don't know who to pick in that game.
Yep, that is going to be, as it turns out, Pistol, our 580 Preps game of the week. Doubleheader tomorrow night with Shawnee Heights at Topeka West at the Charger Dome. And let's go ahead and jump right into those and preview those matchups. We'll start with the one on the boys' side. Shawnee Heights is ranked 3rd in Class 5A, and Topeka West is ranked 8th. And I think it's a really fascinating clash of styles where you still got a pretty young Shawnee Heights team for Ken Darting, and you've got an experienced team, but a new head coach in Christian Olsaker for Topeka West. What will you be most curious to see? You may not know which way the wind is going to blow in this one, but what about this matchup most interests you?
Well, I think it'll come down to, West has a lot of offensive weapons, and I think, and anybody that knows Ken Darting knows the defense. He's a defense-first guy, so it's just how well Heights defense can shut down West. As far as West, it's really the same thing because they can't let Jared Sanchez go off for like 25 or 30. They can't They can't let some of those great weapons for Heights score. So I really think it'll come down to which team does the best job on the defensive end and avoids a bunch of turnovers and foul trouble. Pretty simple. I mean, it's like that every game. Huh?
Yeah, it really is. On the girls' side, interested to see Shawnee Heights and Topeka West. Topeka West girls have had to play 2 top 10 teams and 2 teams that were at one time already this season ranked in the top 10 in Class 5A. So a tough introduction to the season for Angie Ketterman's girls. They'll be at home against the Shawnee Heights team that dropped one to Piper that was a little more one-sided, certainly than they would have preferred, but seemed to rebound very nicely on Tuesday night against Lansing.
Yeah, they had a very good performance on Tuesday. And, hey, KK Emmett's as good as there is around. She had, 25 points, 7 3-pointers, and she's really good, and she kind of sets the tone for that team. But I like their inside players and Cadence Torres and Rihanna Vega, so they got some size too. And Taylor Breeze is a good little guard. So I like that team, and I really, they didn't get much of a test the other night, but I like them, and then I like Amani McGlory. She's a very good offensive threat for Topeka West.
Our guest is Rick Peterson of TopSports.news. This is the local sports spotlight. We do it every Thursday at this time on 580 Sports Talk. Pistol joins us on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline to talk about local high school athletics as well as the Washburn Ichabods. You mentioned the Seaman boys and their 3-1 start. Seaman girls are 4-0. They did what everyone would have expected them to do against Turner on Tuesday night. And we've gotten to see them a couple of times on the Game of the Week already. Saw them twice last week in wins over Lansing and Topeka West. And what strikes me about them, Pistol, is that they just do not seem to have missed a beat. And if anything, they almost seem a little more connected on the floor, like more used to playing with each other with more experience.
Yeah, they probably are. I mean, that's the thing. You got, you got basically, other than Talon Stahlbomber, you got all the starters back. You throw in Kinley Wilhelm, who's a great athlete, into that mix. I think Ava Esser's a lot better than she was last year because she missed. Last year was kind of comeback year for her after she had a knee injury the year before. She's playing a lot better. We all know that Anna Becker's one of the best all-around players in the state. So, yeah, and Maddie Gregg is right there too. So, and they got tested right out of the gate by Piper. And so they know that they can play a tight game too.
The War on 24 basketball edition, first of two meetings between Silver Lake and Rossville, was Tuesday night. Silver Lake girls, who had lost for the first time since the 2022-23 campaign, losing to Centralia in their game the previous Friday, were able to bounce back and beat a very good Rossville team. Rossville boys took down Silver Lake in a really high-scoring and entertaining affair. I want to ask you about the Rossville boys. We talked a little bit about Silver Lake, had them on our Game of the Week a couple of weeks ago. But the Rossville boys shared the Mid-East League title last year. First time they'd won a league in a long time. They were super young. They returned a nucleus. They've got an identity. I think that team, they're not one of the ones, I don't believe, that's ranked by the KBCA, but I think they're a real dark horse in 2A.
Yeah, no, maybe they should be ranked, and I think they will if they keep playing like they've been playing. Jack Donovan's a great three-sport athlete, and I think he's already been like three-time All-County in golf, and a great football receiver and a great basketball player, and they just a lot of those multi-sport athletes at Rossville are used to winning, and I think that helps them. And Brandon McDonald just gets a little more comfortable as he settles into the job as head coach. A kid, and yeah, he's still a kid to me. Kid that I covered at Topeka High, and went on to a great career at Baker, and I think he's doing a good job.
They are ranked. I did want to correct myself. I had the wrong copy of the rankings open, actually. Rossville's boys ranked 7th in the latest Class 2A rankings by the KBCA. So they are one of the 10 area teams of the 20 to be ranked. I gave you bad information there, Pistol, and I apologize. So, but yeah, good start for the Bulldogs. No question about it. Good win over Silver Lake on Tuesday. Let's pivot to the college hardwood. The Washburn Ichabods, they're ranked. They're number 2 in the country now, and they just got 2 impressive wins in San Antonio this week, beating UT Permian Basin last night, a 20-point win the night before over St. Edwards, a couple of good teams out of the Lone Star Conference. And they've gotten Sam Ungashik now back from injury. So this team that has played so well, they get deeper. They add an honorable mention all-league guy from last year to the mix. And right now it just seems like Brett Ballard's got all the pieces on the chessboard with this roster. And it'll be fascinating to see how they come out on Saturday when they travel to Central Missouri.
Yeah, a couple things about that. One, I think for the first time all year, they were down at halftime last night, and they just came out and just completely took control, which you expect from a very good team, and they did exactly what they needed to. I really, really like their balance. They don't have that guy that you're going to count on to lead them like every night, but they got about 6 that could lead you. And, they've had so many games this year already where they've had 5 people in double figures. And if you have 5 people in double figures, that really puts the onus on the other team.
The Washburn women also made a trip this week. They were in Puerto Rico for a couple of games. And look, they were they overmatched their competition, plainly. There's no question about that, beating a couple of teams from Puerto Rico and beating them by lopsided scores. But for such a young team and one that has dealt with maybe some early season injuries as well, getting a chance to play together, have success together, and have some individual successes that maybe they haven't experienced at the high school or the college level yet, how important do you think that trip will end up being for Laura Wessling's Ichabod women?
Well, I haven't talked to them, but I'm sure they had a great time.
Yeah.
It was a great trip. I'm a little upset that I wasn't invited.
You and me both.
And then, you know what? Hey, if you're going to go through the wars of the MIAA, and believe me, it's a war, you deserve a little break once in a while. So if they could get out of town, have a good trip, get a lot of people some minutes, get Yabari Wadada back in from an injury, and all those things, more power to them. And I just hope they had a great time. And I think that trip will just get them ready to go, like we say, go back to the wars of the MIAA already on Saturday.
All right, last thing for you, Pistol. We already talked about our 580 Preps game of the week at Topeka West and Shawnee Heights in basketball on Friday. What else you got your eye on here in this final competition week before the holiday?
I really want to get out, and I'm not going to be able to tomorrow night. I really want to see how both Highland Park teams play. They really haven't been in town. They're in town, girls tonight, boys tomorrow, and I really want to see them play. And I think the boy, you talk about not missing a beat. I don't think Highland Park boys have missed a beat, and I think right away they're a 5A contender.
Rick Peterson of TopSports.news joins us every Thursday on 580 Sports Talk. We call it the local sports spotlight. TopSports.news, an essential daily read if you care about Shawnee County High School athletics and the Washburn Ichabods. Rick Peterson does it the best of anyone. You can follow him on Twitter at Peterson_Rick. Pistol, it's a pleasure. We'll talk to you again, not next week. We'll talk to you again in 2025. How's that sound? Have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Same to you.
That is Rick Peterson. We'll take a break. We'll come back with more 580 Sports Talk, either or over under to wrap up the hour at 580 WIBW.
Step into the magic of Zoo Lights at the Topeka Zoo, where the holidays come alive. Can you jump, refresh your page and jump back in or jump out, jump back in? Yeah, I can do that. Yeah, because Roy thinks. People struggling with tax debt. Powerful tax assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. No one knows these programs better than the experts at Optima Tax Relief, America's most trusted resolution firm, A-rated by the Better Business Bureau. Their award-winning team of tax attorneys and licensed professionals have resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. One call to Optima can start the process, helping to end your worries about wage garnishment, asset seizure, and other IRS actions. Make sure you're getting the best options to solve your tax problems. Call the experts at Generally, your mic issue, because I backed out and I can still hear it.
Says there's a mic still on in the talk studio.
There's a camera mic is picking up your audio.
3:56 on 580 Sports Talk, coming back to wrap up the first hour of the show with a little either or over under. Spencer, 3.5. Over under 3.5 targets for Hollywood Brown on Saturday.
I am hammering that over.
Okay.
So it's been reported widely all week, and Andy even said it today during his presser that his legs aren't the problem. So I don't think he'll be on a snap count.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely going to work him down the sideline. I don't think they're going to, that's kind of who he is. They're not going to work him in the middle, I don't think. I don't think they want to get his shoulder banged around at all in the middle. So I think they're going to target him intermediate and deep routes.
Maybe some stuff to the perimeter as well. Try and get him one-on-one with if you can get him one-on-one with a linebacker, one-on-one with a defensive back or a safety, that would be, I think, another way to do it. I'm kind of with you. I think they'd like to get him back into the rhythm with 3 games left in the regular season, knowing that he's an important piece of this passing game. I kind of have a feeling, too, that they're going to throw to him. I don't know if it's going to be a huge number, but like 5-6 targets, I could definitely see that.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I can definitely see that for Hollywood Brown and his Chiefs regular season debut coming up on Saturday. Still to come on the program today, we'll ask Mitch Holthus what he thinks of Hollywood Brown's involvement Saturday. Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, joins us at 5:25. Paul Myerberg for a Big 12 football breakdown joins us at the bottom of this next hour. Plus, we'll do What Is Wrong With You. But we'll begin the hour by talking about the worst organizations in sports. Looking at you, Jets. That's next on 580 Sports Talk.
Thank you. 580 Sports Talk. 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 580 Sports Tal
Let's get it. Hour number 2 of 580 Sports Talk on a Thursday afternoon. So glad you're with us. Thanks for hanging out on this last Thursday before the Christmas holiday. It's our last Thursday show of 2024. Next Thursday, of course, we're off for the Rate Bowl. K-State and Rutgers playing at Chase Field in Phoenix. The Rate Bowl will kick off at 4:30, which means there's pregame at 2:30, which means my feed is up. We're not doing any show on that Thursday. So we're going to take next Thursday off of 580 Sports Talk. And so this is, again, our final Thursday show of 2024. What a milestone. You start ticking them off like that. It makes you really realize how close you are to the end of the calendar year.
Tomorrow will be my final show of 2024.
That's right. Spencer's show on Friday will be his last because he is taking a little Christmas vacation.
PTO.
Yeah, you can burn that PTO, brother.
Gotta use it or lose it, as they say.
Use it or lose it. That's right. Christmas Vacation. Have you ever seen Christmas Vacation?
I've not.
Okay, that's a little bit more forgivable for you. You're in your 20s. That's an old movie.
Yeah.
I'm gonna make I know the YouTube comments in particular are gonna explode here. I've never seen Christmas Vacation.
I'm glad I'm not the only one.
I've never seen Vacation. I've seen bits and pieces. It's been on cable before, but I've never sat down and watched start to finish National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. I have not. It is a blind spot. It is not maybe my greatest film blind spot. The one that makes people mad. We did that. We were talking the other day, right, about pop culture that you were late to. That was our random question on Tuesday. Pop culture that you were late to. Sometimes you're really late. Sometimes you just never get there. People got really mad at me. Jake LeBon got furious at me when I told him I had never seen Forrest Gump. Like, I thought...
Well, you can get mad at me, too, because I haven't.
Jake was going to hit me. Again, this is more forgivable for you. When it comes out, you weren't born yet. Like, it's not as big a deal, right? But, like, I was 10 when Forrest Gump came out. And so, yeah, like, naturally, okay, yeah, I didn't see it. It was a rated R movie. My parents weren't taking me to see Forrest Gump when it came out in 95. I guess I was 9. I think it was 95. 95, the right year for Forrest Gump? I think so. But, yeah, I just never caught it. Like, never, not on cable, nothing. So, Mark H says, okay, Dan, you need to see both of those. See, I knew people would get mad at me. I knew people would be upset. I haven't seen the vacation movies, haven't seen Forrest Gump. The bits and pieces I have seen, I think I would enjoy it. I think I would enjoy Christmas Vacation very much. Just haven't sat and watched that one. Haven't made the time. So you are going on a very different kind of vacation. I don't think you'll be taking a station wagon back to suburban Virginia.
No, it would be a Southwest Airlines flight to Reagan National Airport.
That's much better. Olivia's going with?
Yes, and
Great.
then we are going to spend less than 24 hours at my parents' house.
Okay.
And then we're going to drive up to like the northernmost point of Pennsylvania to her family's house.
Okay.
Spend Christmas there.
Okay.
And then come back down next Thursday and spend the rest of the weekend until we come back on the 31st with my family.
There you go. That's the
hit them both.
That's the Spencer Dupuis travel itinerary. So he will be off for the remainder of 2024, which means with Brendan Dworzinski remaining on paternity leave next week, Monday, me. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'm taking off. Friday, more of me. And then the Monday after that, you guessed it, me. So hope y'all like me. There's going to be a lot of me for the rest of the calendar year on 580 Sports Talk. That's our schedule. Again, we are taking Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday of next week off. We will also take New Year's Eve off as well. So we have just after Friday, we will have 3 more shows in the calendar year of 2024. We'll have a lot of fun with them, and we'll get the table set for, of course, the end of year. What is wrong with you? We'll do that, and excited to do that. And crown a champion of what is wrong with you for the year 2024. We've got some really good ones this year. We've got some great champions of what is wrong with you. Just to give you an idea of who we're going to catch up with in the What is Wrong with You Tournament of Failed Champions. I'll just give you the titles of our winners so far in order of month in which they won. We have the Gorilla Wedding. We have he took the antiques and he wrecked them. We have the Burger King divorce incident. We have the unholy orgy. We have the suspended license. We have steroid dad. Shout out to Trent Kraxner. We have Matthew Pancake. We have the stinky feet shooting. We have dog looks like a panda. We have Rashee Rice's mom. By the way, update to come later today on Rashee Rice's mom. And we have banned from Ulta Beauty for life. And then we're going to have our December champion as well. So that's what's coming up. Anyway, coming up this hour of 580 Sports Talk, Paul Myerberg is going to join us for our last Big 12 breakdown of the college football season. Not a ton of Big 12 to talk about, so we're going to spend the time talking about the college football playoff. We'll see who Paul thinks is going to win the first ever 12-team college football playoff, including a breakdown of the Friday and Saturday matchups in the first round that are coming up this week. We'll also, as I mentioned, have What Is Wrong With You. Honest to goodness, what is wrong with you today just could have been Woody Johnson.
I have a What Is Wrong With You also that could have been today, and it could have been Elon Musk.
Okay.
I don't know if you are understand, like, this is not a political show, right? But there is a spending bill that's supposed to be voted on tonight. And part of said spending bill was giving the land at RFK Stadium, historic RFK Stadium, back to the District of Columbia to then sell to Josh Harris and build a new Commander Stadium back on where it once was.
Mm-hmm.
And Elon Musk decided to post on his X platform yesterday and said there was too much in the spending bill, and the people in Congress took out like 90% of the bill. And that included the
RFK Stadium thing.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, luckily for you, the Commanders aren't part of the discussion that we're going to have about.
They were a few years ago.
Yes, they were for many years, for about 2 decades. They were maybe the top item on the list when you talked about the worst franchises in pro sports. But the Jets are making a very strong bid. From The Athletic today, Zach Rosenblatt, Diana Rossini, and Michael Silver doing the reporting. And I'm just going to read it. And you're going to think, if you haven't encountered this yet today, you're going to think I'm making this up. But this is a real story. Woody Johnson decided to do his own research. The New York Jets owner was at his home in Palm Beach, Florida last February, discussing potential offseason acquisitions with team decision makers as they watched game tape. Wide receiver Jerry Jeudy, a former Denver Bronco first-round pick, flashed on the screen. Jets general manager Joe Douglas expressed interest, according to someone familiar with the meeting. Johnson took out his phone and started typing. A few weeks later, Douglas and his Broncos counterpart, George Paton, were deep in negotiations for a trade that would have sent Jeudy to the Jets and given future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers another potential playmaker. The Broncos felt a deal was near. Then, abruptly, it all fell apart. In Denver's executive offices, they couldn't believe the reason why. Douglas told the Broncos that Johnson didn't want to make the trade because the owner felt Judy's player rating in Madden NFL, the popular video game, wasn't high enough, according to multiple league sources. The Broncos ultimately traded the receiver to the Cleveland Browns. Last Sunday, Jeudy crossed the 1,000-yard receiving mark for the first time in his career. I bet his Mad rating this year is good as hell.
Yeah.
I bet when they do the roster updates at the end of the season, he have a nice-looking Madden rating. But apparently it wasn't good enough for Woody Johnson, the owner, and he vetoed a trade with the Denver Broncos. And you might hear that and think, well, that is the dumbest, most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of a team owner doing. And what I would tell you to do is keep reading the rest of the story, because essentially what you are led to believe is that Woody Johnson has put his rowdy teen sons in charge of this football team. Brendan Brzezinski brought this up briefly a couple of weeks back, just kind of offhand, mentioned the existence of Brick Johnson. That is the oldest son. Yes. That is Woody's eldest son. He is, I believe, 18 years old. Jack is his other son. Jack is doing some math here. He is 16 years old. Last year, from the article, Johnson started including his sons in some meetings at the team facility. For some Jets employees, the sons' increasing involvement clarified their father's propensity for sharing posts from X and articles from various outlets. When we're discussing things, you'll hear Woody cite something that Brick or Jack read online that's being weighed equally against whatever opinion someone else in the department has, says one Jets executive. I answer to a teenager, Douglas quipped to people close to him before the season in an acknowledgement of the perceived power dynamic. That is the general manager of an NFL team saying, half jokingly, I answer to a teenager.
Ridiculous.
The Jets spokesperson quoted in the article said, quote, the Suns have no roles in the organization. It's completely ridiculous to suggest that any outside info is intended to replace the opinions of Woody Johnson's staff. But the Suns are very deeply involved. Apparently, they brought friends, both male and female, into the locker room. And apparently, Brick stole the thunder of the interim head coach, Jeff Ulbrich, after they won their game on Halloween night for Ulbrich's first career coaching win. And Aaron Rodgers was all set to present a game ball to Ulbrich for his first win, which is customary for the veteran, the captain, to do that to the coach after they win their first game. But then Brick came in like Leroy Jenkins and started swearing all over the place and gave a game ball to Garrett Wilson and then posted the exchange on Instagram because he was very proud of himself that he got to give a game ball to an NFL player.
Yet the spokesperson comes out and says they have no involvement in the organization.
Yes. One player said of that, quote, it was the most awkward, cringeworthy, brutal experience. So that's what's going on with the Jets. That's why the Jets are who they are. And it's not a mistake that when you think of the worst franchises in professional sports, obviously the one thing they have in common is bad ownership. What's the saying? Something rots from the head. The fish rots from the head.
Yeah.
Yeah. The fish rots from the head. And ownership is the head of any organization. So when you talk about bad franchises, what you're really talking about are bad owners. When you're talking about the Chicago White Sox, who are a mess, you're talking about Jerry Reinsdorf. When you're talking about the penurious Pittsburgh Pirates, you're talking about Bob Nutting. When you're talking about the utterly clueless Colorado Rockies, you're talking about Dick and Charlie Monfort. Ownership that is bad. But what makes bad ownership? It's ownership that meddles too much. It's ownership that won't spend money. It's ownership that has stayed in the same family for too long and gotten to a point where the people in charge have no qualification other than they happened upon all this money. Like, that's a lot more common in Major League Baseball and the NFL, right? Those franchises tend to be, to a certain extent, family businesses still, in ways that you would say NBA organizations or NHL organizations really aren't. Those are all owned by, like hedge funds or just, corporate raiders, people like that. But there's still a lot, and you see it more in the NFL, I think, anymore than you do in Major League Baseball, but you still see it, of that family ownership. Like the Steelers have been in the Rooney family forever, but Art Rooney was a really good owner, and his kids have been really good owners. The Maras in New York, Wellington Mara, really good owner. His sons, I forget the guy's name. I think it's John. I think John Mara is in charge now. Have done some good things. The Giants are kind of a mess on the field right now, but they're not you wouldn't say the Giants are an inept organization. You would just say, like, this year they're tanking, and they hired a bad GM who gave a lot of money to a bad quarterback. But you feel like they can dig out of that. We're not talking about the Giants the same way we talk about the Jets. Like, the Bears haven't been good for the better part of their existence. Like
85 Bears, that's it.
7 playoff appearances in the last 30 years. The McCaskies have had ownership of the team when it was passed down from the Hallis family, and now it's in with the McCaskies, and they don't seem to know exactly what it is that they're doing. So good ownership is hereditary. Great example, the Hunts, right? Like Lamar Hunt knew what he was doing and made sure that when he passed the team down to the generations that have followed, that they knew what they were doing too. And you know what Clark Hunt doesn't do? Meddle. The next time you hear Clark Hunt having significant impact on a personnel decision for the Chiefs will be the first. Clark Hunt lets the football people make football decisions. That's the way it ought to be. Let the football people that you hire make football decisions.
I also think he has the utmost trust in Brett Veach than a lot of owners have in their GMs.
Well, if you can't trust your GM, then
who can you?
Yeah, exactly. So it's not necessarily that being a family business, so to speak, dooms you to have bad ownership. But a lot of times you get further and further away from the person who made all the money being in charge. And what you have are people who inherit money. There's a term for them that exists on the internet, fail sons. Fail sons and fail daughters. They failed up, right? They didn't do anything with their lives, but they inherited their dad's fortune, their family fortune, and now they're in charge. Why aren't the Broncos owned by the Bolin family anymore? Because the Bolin family, the Bolin children, largely morons from top to bottom. Blood of the city. Google that phrase sometime. Bolin, blood of the city. You'll have a really fun time with that particular Google search. And that's why that team didn't stay in the family. That's why it was so acrimonious. They ended up having to sell to the Walton Penner Group, and then they got all that Walmart money owning the Broncos. It's not a family business anymore the way that it was back when, interesting, the Broncos were successful.
The Nationals are starting to get that way.
Right.
The owner, Ted, or is it Ted Lerner?
Yeah.
Yeah, Ted Lerner passed away. His son, Mark Lerner, runs it now. And
they've been trying to sell.
No, they stopped trying to
sell.
Right,
they had been trying to sell.
Yes, and now they're kind of just lame duck. They're not making any big signings. They're not letting any of the money, because apparently all their money's tied up in real estate. It's not even tied up with the Nationals anymore.
Well, that's pretty common with baseball owners in particular. Baseball owners, I think, would rather just be real estate moguls and have their baseball team just be a tenant. Like that's you see a little bit of that, frankly, with John Sherman and what they want to do with the new ballpark for the Royals. Doesn't mean that, the Braves, essentially, that ownership group, the Liberty folks and the people who own the Braves, they are certainly interested in the real estate aspect of things. That's why they built the new ballpark for the Braves where they built it. But they've won a World Series. You can't say they haven't been successful. They put the money in. Other owners that don't do that, like the Rockies, are a very different story. But I just think that it really should make you feel very fortunate if you were a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs, that not only was Lamar Hunt a smart guy, but that his children down the line appear to have a decent amount of business savvy, and that Clark Hunt isn't letting a bunch of teenagers and Madden ratings dictate how the Chiefs get run. Because you see how clearly some owners, like, you buy a team, it's your toy, right? And you want to play with it. You want to play with your toy. Jerry Jones, the all-time example of, he owns the team. He wants to be the GM, and he's been the GM, and that's a franchise that has gone in the wrong direction. He's certainly lost his touch, whatever touch he had when it comes to team building, because your ego gets in the way. And this is ego from Woody Johnson. This is a guy who thinks he's more important than he actually is. And you think you're smart. A lot of people who end up with money think they're smart. Think that they must be smart. They must be special because they have all this money. No, man, you just got money. You just got money. You inherited money. Your dad was smart. Your dad did the legwork. You were born on third, and you think you hit a triple. There are so many examples. The Monforts in Denver, they inherited their meatpacking business. They didn't have the business savvy of their forefathers. They just happened to be there. It's the Lucky Sperm Club. You were there when the business got handed down. And now you think not only are you the greatest businessman, but now you own a baseball team and you think you're Branch Rickey, and you're not. Woody Johnson thinks he can be Jerry Jones. Woody Johnson apparently thinks Brick Johnson is the next big thing in football front office wizardry. And if there's a lesson to be learned from any of this, it is just this. Thank your lucky stars you're not a New York Jets fan. I really don't, in abandoning your favorite team. I think when you pick a team, it's your team, right? Yeah. You pick a team, it's your team for life. You have things that tie you to your team and that community that it surrounds, rooting for your team, that go beyond the winning and the losing and make it a worthwhile thing that can be part of your life, even if your team stinks, even if your team has a bad coach or bad players or a bad general manager or a bad front office or even sometimes a bad owner. But I will tell you this, reading that if you were a Jets fan and you read that article today and you've got two teenagers running your team and your owner using the Madden ratings to determine whether or not trades should be made, if you were a Jets fan this morning and read that and decided, I can no longer root for this team, I'm done, I wouldn't blame you.
Me neither.
I would not blame you in the least. Get out while you still can. We're going to take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. What is wrong with you is next. It is What Is Wrong With You time on 580 Sports Talk. Two new stories today trying to take down our current weekly champion, the professional drinker. He sure was good at it in the sense that he didn't keel over and die after he got a .326 BAC, but he wasn't good enough at driving while that obliterated to avoid causing a multi-car wreck in Wheat Ridge, Colorado. Professional drinker is our weekly champion. Before we get to today's stories, an update on a monthly champion, one we're going to bring back for the Tournament of Failed Champions here. Rashee Rice's mom. Her case has been dismissed. If you recall, she was accused of theft back in October after caught on a doorbell camera stealing some vinyl records off of someone else's porch. But the misdemeanor case has been dropped by prosecutors after Marcia Carney fulfilled several conditions. She completed a theft intervention program, 24 hours of community service, and paid $125 in restitution. So the case is now closed.
Did she give back the Chapel Roan records?
I'm guessing that's what the restitution was meant to cover.
Yeah.
The cost of the records. Anyway, two new stories today. Spencer, why don't you go first?
All right, we're going back to Florida. According to Fox 4 in Florida, a road rage incident went down on December 16th after someone reported the occurrence that happened at an intersection via Rapolio Drive and Villargio Drive.
Streets don't matter. We've never been
Whatever.
there. Yeah, just give us the story.
The victims said we're driving when someone behind them started tailgating real close. They say the other driver's lights were flashing bright all up in their rearview mirror, making it clear that this Florida man was not there for friendship. That man was named Philip Mark Zimikowski. We're going to go with Zimikowski.
Okay.
He wasn't just content to just tailgate. Nah, he decided to take it to the next level. They both pulled up to the intersection, and Philip hops out of his car, and what does he pull out? A freaking machete. Not a baseball bat, not his phone to call it to cops. A Florida man went straight to the machete. The other driver was just trying to survive at that point, and he saw the dude swinging the machete at him. By the time deputies pulled up, Philip had already left. Cops were pretty good at connecting dots. Didn't take too long to show up at his place. They knew exactly where they were going. They hauled him off for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon, and he's going to be in jail for a little bit of time for that.
Boy, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Got out of the car with the machete. We always joke, that old that meme. I keep that thing on me. That thing probably shouldn't be a machete.
Yeah.
And you really don't need to brandish it in a road race. That's wild. That's going to be a tough one to beat. Here's my story today. Going to Bedford, Pennsylvania, where a man is accused of striking a property owner with a ladder before breaking into another man's home where two small children were located. 44-year-old Levi Jones has one count of second-degree felony criminal trespass, a third-degree felony count of disorderly conduct, and two summary charges filed against him for the December 13th incident. Police were called for a report of a disturbance. While speaking with a man on scene, the officer heard yelling and ran to a residence on another street where he said he saw Jones enter the residence. The homeowner told police he had two young children, ages 2 and 4, in the home. When asked who the man was, the homeowner said, "I don't know. He just came and busted into my house." Police entered to find Jones lying on the floor in the entry, screaming and cutting himself with a knife. He complied with orders and was taken into custody without incident, according to the affidavit of probable cause. The man who made the original call to police was interviewed, told him he heard a banging on his door. When he went outside to investigate, he found Jones near the rear porch. The man says Jones hit him with a ladder and then ran away. Police spoke with Jones, who reportedly told them he'd been drinking and believed people were chasing him in an attempt to kill him.
Jeez.
He was arraigned on $30,000 straight bail. Hitting somebody with a ladder is a wild move.
Yeah.
Hey, just imagine being that guy. You hear something in the back, like back porch. I should go investigate. And then one guy, somebody catches you with a ladder.
Crazy.
Like not, and I would assume if it was like a step stool,
Yeah.
it would be different. From the text line, the 913, was the guy drinking meth? I don't know, man. Yeah, a little meth light, little meth IPA. All right, who wins today?
I don't know. This is a tough one. I think.
This is a tough one today. I'll say we'll go tie to sobriety. We think that your guy Philip was sober when he decided that he needed to make his point with a machete.
Yeah.
So we'll go tie to sobriety there. Does that beat, however, the professional drinker?
I don't think so.
I think the professional drinker is moving on to tomorrow. All right, we'll take a break. Come back with Paul Myerberg of USA Today for the Big 12 football breakdown on 580 Sports Talk. It's another Big 12 football breakdown and a college football playoff breakdown on today's edition of 580 Sports Talk with the outstanding Paul Myerberg of USA Today, who covers all things college football and joins us Thursdays throughout the college football season for what we call the Big 12 breakdown here on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. And Paul, have the early bowl games whetted your appetite for these playoff games this weekend?
Yeah, because they've been pretty good games. I thought Memphis, West Virginia was a heck of a lot of fun. These are just like, this is like when you get to the restaurant and you're 15 minutes early or you're 15 minutes into your table and you can just have a nice glass of Chardonnay, sit at the bar, kill a couple minutes. This is what those feel like. But I can't argue with more football. I'm all in favor of it. So I'm having a blast. This is good times for everybody.
We were basking in the glory of the bowl game name, Art of Sports LA Bowl, hosted by Gronk on yesterday's program.
Yeah.
That was last night's game between Cal and UNLV. Paul, what is your favorite sponsor and bowl game name combination of all time?
Oh, it has been, and will always be the Poulan Weed Eater Bowl. That has always been the gold standard for bowl games. I personally, knowing that it only costs, when I say only, I mean it costs maybe 4 or 5 years ago, it cost $250,000 to sponsor a bowl game on ESPN. None of us had that kind of money, so it's not like for us. But I always wondered why bowl.com, which is where you could buy bowls, wouldn't sponsor the bowl.com bowl. I just don't understand. Or the bowl. It doesn't make sense to me. So that's free advertising for bowls.
And they could get
like bowls.
They could get the current, I believe, Phoenix Sun to sponsor that game. So it would be the bowl.com bowl hosted by Bowl.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, now we have a plan. This is our plan for 2025. You do the bowl, the player, and I'll get with bowl.com. We'll make this happen.
We'll speak it into existence. Absolutely. Paul Myerberg joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Before we get into the college football playoff matchups, do want to talk a little Big 12 football. A couple of high-profile quarterback transfers into the league in the past week. Devin Dampier, who put up some big numbers for New Mexico this past season, is going to matriculate to Utah. Colorado, who's already got a commitment from one of the best freshman quarterbacks in the class in Georgia's Juju Lewis, just got a commitment from Liberty quarterback Caden Salter. What impact do you think Dampier and Salter could have in the Big 12 next year?
Yeah, Dampier is a really, really interesting prospect, and it helps a lot that Jason Beck is coming from New Mexico, and they're going to keep that scheme. He's an unproven passer. He makes a lot of stupid decisions. I think his arm strength has not reached his ability to grasp defenses at this point, but the potential is there. What he really does that makes him dangerous is run the football. And I'm really interested in seeing, we are assuming that Cam Rising is not going to play. If he comes back, something will happen that'll keep him on the sidelines. I think it brings Utah's offense in a really unique direction. They haven't had, and maybe I'm blanking, haven't had an athlete like this who can run and pass since Alex Smith. And I'm sure I'm missing somebody. But that's a really interesting addition. Colorado, to me, Salter is a limited quarterback. He's been exposed at times in games against Power 5 competition or Power 4. That seems to me like if you don't really believe that Lewis can step right in and play as a starter as an 18-year-old in the Power 4, Salter's the kid who has Lewis hold a clipboard for a couple of weeks. So I'm not as big a fan of that. But if you look at it as just a placeholder, I think it's an effective guy who certainly in non-conference play would be able to win with the talent that Colorado will be able to surround him with.
We talked last week about the hirings in the Big 12 Conference. Scott Frost going back to UCF, Rich Rodriguez going back to West Virginia. As you look around the country in the coaching carousel so far, what is your favorite hire to this point of the coaching carousel?
It is Rich Rod, guys. I think Rich Rod to West Virginia, not just because of the backstory. I mean, the backstory is tremendous. The reunion is tremendous. But I think he's proven at Jacksonville State, in particular, these last 3 years, that the game has not passed him by. And importantly, at a time when college football teams are shying away from defining yourself by your ability to run the football in a traditional sense, not by being a service academy, but by making your running game the dominant part of your offense, he's shown that you can still do that. I mean, their running game was just dominant, and it was physical. And once they got out of non-conference play, they bulldozed teams. So I love the fit with West Virginia. That's my number one. Bronco Mendenhall off the map, 1 year at New Mexico to Utah State. He's going to have tremendous success at Utah State. So I put that there as well. Look, and Scott Frost, Barry Odom to Purdue. That's a great hire. So it's not a splashy one. And of course, we have to talk about Belichick, but it's not overly splashy outside the fact that you have a 6-time Super Bowl winning head coach going to the ACC. But I think there have been a lot of effective, essentially no-brainer hires. So I give a lot of administrations credit for not trying to outthink themselves outside of UNC and just taking the guy who fit your culture best.
Any hiring so far make you scratch your head a little bit in terms of fit, in terms of what the program maybe is aiming for? Anything in particular make you a little bit cock an eyebrow?
Yeah, and this is like we're talking about Tulsa here. Tulsa hired a coach named Trey Lamb. He's 35 years old. He's been in coaching for, I think this will be his 11th year. I mean, his highest level of competition has been East Tennessee State. This was just one season this past year. To me, that leap from East Tennessee State to the American is just so profound and so strong. That was a head shaker to me. And I know that's not necessarily going to move the needle nationally, but that's one hire where I looked at and I thought, man, that does not make a whole lot of sense to me.
Paul Myerberg is joining us for the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. Paul covers college football for America's newspaper, USA Today. You can find him on social media, on Twitter, at Paul Myerberg. You hear him on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline on Thursdays here on 580 Sports Talk. All right, Paul, let's get to the good stuff. The first round playoff games in the 12-team college football playoff. First one is tomorrow night in South Bend. Notre Dame and Indiana. Indiana, the surprise team of this season. They've got the National Coach of the Year, Curt Cignetti. But when they played Ohio State, by far the best team on their schedule, they ran into what I refer to as a deficit of dudes. They just didn't have enough dudes to play for 60 minutes with Ohio State. Obviously, they made some crippling mistakes on special teams that really set them back as well. Do you suspect that that same dude deficit may come into play for Indiana, or do they have a chance to keep this one close throughout the night, maybe pull off a shock in South Bend?
I don't think they can pull off a shock, but their road at keeping it tight is pretty simple. They've got a great run defense. They have not faced a run defense like Notre Dame, and I think Notre Dame will be successful. But if they can get their run defense going, they can force a turnover. They can flip the field on special teams. That's their avenue to an upset. I just really don't see it. And it's not just Ohio State. It's also Michigan. You know, those are two top 20 defenses that they played this season, and both times they looked very, very pedestrian. So I think Notre Dame's dudes in the back end can slow down their offense. And I do think that Notre Dame up front is going to get it done in terms of being able to push piles and push bodies up front. So I think Notre Dame wins this one pretty handily. I don't think it's a good prep for Georgia, but I think Notre Dame wins with enough style that they go into the Sugar Bowl with people saying, wow, this Notre Dame team is for real.
The next game of the four, the 6-11 matchup in State College, Pennsylvania, is Penn State, the 6th seed, takes on the number 11 seed SMU, who snuck into the playoff thanks to that, really needed to have that rally to make it close against Clemson to get an at-large bid after losing the ACC title game. What do you have your eye on in this matchup? What do you think will define the game between the Nittany Lions and the Mustangs?
Yeah, it's all about SMU's ability to protect. And Jennings is interesting. Now, as we saw against Clemson, he is one of the quarterbacks in this playoff, honestly, if not nationally, that can make so much happen with his legs and can really make things happen when things break down. That makes it an intriguing option for SMU to get a big play downfield because he breaks contain, defense breaks down in the back end, and they can find an explosive play, 70-yard touchdown, and make it happen. But if they can't protect him on 3rd and 6, and he's got to run for his life, that's going to be a snowball effect, and that's just going to keep them under wraps. So I don't think SMU can block them. I don't think they can protect. And Jennings, for all of his talent, I don't think he's good enough on his own to make that happen. So I think Penn State has a clear advantage on the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball.
Next up is the Texas-Clemson matchup. Texas, the 5 seed, Clemson, the 12. Texas is a 2-score favorite in this one, going up against the only coach to be coaching in the first round who's actually won a national championship in the playoff era. Of course, that's Dabo Swinney. What is Clemson's path to pulling an upset here, or do you see Texas just being able to overwhelm a Clemson team that never really hit a stride throughout 2024?
Yeah, the latter part is true. I think Texas eventually is going to just kind of behemoth them or juggernaut them. They're just too big. They're too strong. They're too good up front. And they're just going to shut Clemson's ability to run between the tackles, and it's going to make it all about Cade Klubnik. And Klubnik's been playing great of late, but as you said, Clemson is not the team that can be one-dimensional, can be unbalanced on offense to beat a team like Texas. Having said that, I think Clemson's back seven, certainly their secondary, can do enough to make Texas's life very difficult, and specifically make life difficult for Quinn Ewers. So while I think Texas wins this game, if you're Arizona State looking ahead to that matchup in 2 weeks, look, like, you don't match what Clemson has on defense, but you can look schematically and you can look at what they've done with their coverages and find a way that you can slow down Quinn Ewers, knowing that your offense is so much better than Clemson's, that if you get into a shootout with Texas, that you can do just enough to win the game 37-34. So that's the thing that I'm looking for. Do they provide a blueprint for an Arizona State to follow? But in the long run, Clemson's just not going to score enough points to win this game. So the only way they win is if Quinn Ewers throws 3 picks or 4 picks. Possible, not likely.
The last of the first-round games, the Saturday primetime affair, the 8-9 matchup at Ohio Stadium in Columbus. Ohio State is the 8th seed. Tennessee is the 9 seed. Ohio State's had a long time to lick their wounds from that inexplicable loss to Michigan a few weeks back. Do they bounce back and advance, or is the seat going to get warmer under Ryan Day after Tennessee comes in to Columbus?
Yeah, this is such a great game because I truly believe that both of these teams can win the national championship. I don't think that's a stretch. I even think that Tennessee might be the best team in this bracket. So this is going to be one hell of a matchup that is going to tell a story, I think, for the rest of this playoff. I think Tennessee overall, if they don't get Nico Iamaleava to play the way that he did against Vandy and against UTEP, then forget it. Because he's got to be not perfect, but he's got to be so much better than he was in the heart of SEC play, when they basically took the offense out of his hands and relied only on Dylan Sampson. He's playing his game. They're more balanced. They put Ohio State on their heels. That's a winning formula for sure. I think, though, guys, that Ohio State plays looser with less stress, strangely, because they're in a playoff setting, and I think they win this game. And I think they win, guys, with enough style that you come out of the weekend talking about the Buckeyes as a team that nobody wants to play. Because I think this is such a big moment for Ryan Day and for the Buckeyes. I think they deliver in that spotlight and make a bit of a statement, because we know that they're better than they were against Michigan. And I think they're going to embrace that opportunity.
Couple of more questions for Paul Myerberg of USA Today, joining us to talk college football and the Big 12 breakdown here on 580 Sports Talk. I guess you kind of nodded to it. You think Tennessee is a national championship caliber team. Are they the road team most likely to win this weekend? And to put the question another way, how impactful do you think home field advantage will be in these first home playoff games in the 12-team format?
It's interesting. I don't think it's a huge deal for Tennessee to go into Columbus because they've been into SEC situations with 100,000 plus in tough environments on the road at night. I don't think that's as big a deal. I think SMU going to Penn State, that's a tough trip. 100,000 in freezing weather. You're going to have maybe 10,000 of your fans there at most, if that. They may not even have 10,000 fans nationally. So I think that's a really tough road environment. So that's where you're going to see it pop up. I don't think it's as big a deal for Tennessee. But look, I do think that if you are a team like SMU or you are a team even to a degree like Clemson, these are tough environments to play in, and you may not really know what you're expecting or what to expect, and you're going to be shocked by that environment. So I think home field plays a role. I don't think that necessarily that you're picking these teams because they're at home, but I do think that home field advantage in particular in that Penn State SMU and in Texas Clemson, I think are going to be major, major advantages.
All right, Paul, who's going to play for the national championship on January 20th, and who's going to win it and why?
Yeah, I'm going Notre Dame, Oregon, and I think Notre Dame's going to win the national championship.
Wow.
I think the way that they're playing right now is as well as they played in a really long time. Their running game is outstanding, and it loses credit because it's shared wealth between 3 or 4 guys. I don't think they get enough credit for how good they are. Oregon is the quietest the number one team that no one has talked about. I cannot believe how much they've flown under the radar. I do think that they beat Ohio State, they get to a title game. I just have a good feeling about the Irish. Watch them lose tomorrow night because that's how my life works. But I think the Irish have what it takes to march through here, win a first-round game, and go all the way to the national title. Wow,
that would be their first since 89, right? To beat Colorado in the Orange Bowl? Oh, 88. That's right.
Yes. The Tim Brown season, I think it was in 88.
Yeah, so that's right.
I could do this math. 30 years.
So
36 years.
To give you an idea, because I think they beat Colorado and denied them the national championship in the Orange Bowl in 89, and then Colorado beat them in the 90 Orange Bowl and then split that national championship that year with Georgia Tech. And that game, right, Paul, is the first college football game that I have any recollection of. I was, I guess I would have been a little over 3 years old at the time, and I have a recollection of that game. That's how long it's been since we were talking about Notre Dame like this.
Yeah, that's great. I want to share this because this is our last chance. So the first game I remember watching on TV was A&M against Houston, and Andre Ware, I believe, was the quarterback, and A&M absolutely, the wrecking crew, absolutely ripping Houston to shreds. It might not have been Ware, it might have been Klingler, but I'm pretty sure it was Andre Ware against Texas. Quentin Coryatt might have been 89 or 90.
Okay, so yeah, we're around the same generation then, Paul. That's good.
This is why we're big fans.
Yes.
We grew up watching one or two games a day. And that's all we got.
Yeah.
And that's why you had to be a fan. You had to put your effort in.
And the bowl games were everything. My great-grandfather was a diehard Notre Dame fan because he was a Catholic, so naturally. And that night, I remember it was New Year's night. It was with my family. He gave me a horn, like a real horn to like honk, one of those with the bubble at the end to honk. He said, do this every time Notre Dame makes a good play. And I kind of wanted Colorado to win, having grown up in Colorado. So I was really torn that night. And
honk.
Yeah, not much honking. The game ended 10-9. So not a lot of honking. Paul Myerberg has joined us throughout this college football season for the Big 12 breakdown. Paul, I mean it from the bottom of my heart when I say it is always a pleasure these Thursdays getting to speak with you. We enjoy it. Our listeners enjoy it. We hope you enjoyed it as well. And we look forward to doing it again next season.
Yeah, we loved it, guys. Had such a blast every Thursday talking with you. Hopefully we can touch base before next year, do an off-season summertime checkup. But enjoy the games. Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, New Year's to all you guys and your listeners. And hopefully we can touch base again soon.
Absolutely. Merry Christmas to you, Paul. Thank you again.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
That is Paul Myerberg, and that is the Big 12 breakdown. We'll take a break. We'll come back and wrap up this hour of 580 Sports Talk after this. This will be a quick segment. Our thanks again to Paul Myerberg for joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. Notre Dame to win the national title. Wow. Yeah, I didn't see that coming at all. That really caught me off guard. I don't think it's going to be Notre Dame. I do think they're going to hammer Indiana. I think they're only favored by 7. Walk, don't run to the window and lay the points with Notre Dame. I'm telling you right now. We'll have more to come in the final hour of the program. Mitch Holthus is going to join us. We'll talk Thursday Night Football. We got 580 Sports Talk headlines coming up as well for one more hour on this Thursday. Let's get it. Final hour of 580 Sports Talk on this Thursday afternoon. Taking you up to 6 o'clock. Then we'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime before Thursday night football. Thanks for being with us on 580 WIBW, FM 104.9, online at 580WIBW.com, and on our video stream. You can catch us on YouTube. Channel is 580 Sports Talk. Subscribe to the channel today if you have not. We want 700 subscribers for Christmas. We don't need 700 new ones. We just need 4 new ones. Then we get to 700 subscribers, which would be very cool. So if you have not subscribed to the YouTube yet, you should do so. 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. You can also watch us on Facebook, WIBW News. I'm Dan Lucero. Spencer Dupuis is here as well. Brendan Dworzinski's paternity leave continues. One more hour of the program to get to today.
Brendan did pop in today and say hello for a few minutes.
So. He did. Yeah, I was told that he was able to get away from wife and baby and say hello. I was not around, unfortunately. We were 2 ships passing in the night. I was taking my lunch break. But, yeah, Brendan's doing well. Talked to him last night. He's doing well. Baby's doing well. Wife is doing well. So he's enjoying his time off with their new addition. And we'll look forward to having him back at the turn of the calendar. You can interact with the program today. Hit us up in the YouTube live chat. If you are watching the YouTube stream, you can chat with us and with your fellow listeners. There's a live chat feature. You can access it if you're watching, whether you're on your web browser on youtube.com or if you're on your device, mobile device, watching on YouTube, or if you're on a streaming stick on your TV. If you're watching us in 4K, man, shout out to you if you're watching us in 4K this evening. But the live chat is open, and it's always great to hear from listeners in there. You can also hit us up on the text line, 785-272-9429 is that number, 785-272-9429. Still to come this hour, Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs, will join us in about 20 minutes or so. Get Mitch's preview of the Saturday game against the Texans, a noon Saturday kickoff. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to be doing Washburn basketball. It'll be the first time all year I won't be able to watch the Chiefs.
I'll be flying. I don't know if I think I'll have touchdown by that point. So I think I'm going to try and figure out a way to pull up Mitch Holthus's call while I'm driving home.
Good thinking. So for those who may be wondering, there will not be instant reaction on Saturday on our YouTube channel. There will also not be one on Christmas either. So unfortunately, won't be able to bring you those. But you can watch past instant reactions, again, if you subscribe to the YouTube, 580 Sports Talk. Mitch Holthus is going to join us here in about 20 minutes or so. Also going to talk about Thursday Night Football tonight. Not going to give you an in-depth breakdown of Chargers-Broncos because I think it's going to be a snoozer, very low-scoring game. But the NFL should be ashamed of themselves for the scheduling decision to move this game from a Sunday to a Thursday. And we'll talk about why that is the case. But first, it's our 580 Sports Talk headlines. And I'm starting with something that's not a headline. I'm sorry. I have to bring this up. Because this is one of the funniest things I've ever heard in my life. And it is sports related. This is not completely out of the blue here. So this is going around social media today. Paul Denner Jr. Covers the Cincinnati Bengals for The Athletic. And he tweeted / skeeted on Blue Sky earlier today this story from the Bengals locker room. Epic gift alert. Joe Burrow gifted his offensive lineman, you are not ready for the next 4 words, authentic Japanese katana swords. Each sword comes with its own story from certain towns or battles. He put them in a room and each picked one. And this quote from Orlando Brown that I am never going to stop thinking about for the rest of my life. Orlando Brown, the former Chief, quote, "The fact that he bought me a sword, it's the most ancient form of respect." What? So your respect for me means nothing until you buy me a damn sword, okay? So you know.
Shout out to this writer letting everybody know that all of these guys now are in possession of katanas.
Ryan Nanny of the Shutdown Fullcast posted on Blue Sky, starting a Google alert for Cincinnati sword incident. Like, what are they going to do? Are they going to is it going to be like Step Brothers? Just going to do sword fighting in the clubhouse? This totally sounds like Ted Karras out for remainder of regular season. Sword injury. The fact that he bought me a sword, it's the most ancient form of respect.
Did you see
that is a late contender for sports quote of the year right there.
Did you see what Pat Mahomes brought his offensive lineman?
I did not see what Patrick Mahomes bought his offensive lineman.
I gotta find it now. I saw it yesterday.
Did not see that. Authentic. So how many linemen do the Bengals carry? Most teams carry
9?
Most teams carry 8 to 10.
8 to 10. Yeah.
And then I don't know if you got them for the practice squad guys or what. But how do you run down? Like, do you have a sword guy? Is there like a local sword dealer in Greater Cincinnati? Joe Burrow put out a call. Did he go on eBay? Did he Google authentic Japanese katana swords? Do you buy them in bulk? Do you buy them like a half a dozen at a time? Does he have any extras left over?
I don't know, but do you want to, in comparison, know what Patrick Mahomes got as offensive lineman?
Please tell me. Yes.
A Rolex.
Okay.
Lucius boots. I'm not Lucchese boots. Yeti coolers that roll that have the wheels on one side.
Uh-huh. Nice coolers. Sure.
Oakley's.
Uh-huh.
And
he didn't pay for those.
Norma Tex, which is the leg things that the athletes use.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Like the recovery leg
sleeves. Yeah.
Yeah.
A little bit more practical than a freaking sword, right?
Yeah. Hey, what are you gonna do? I mean, at this point, you have to like have a shrine kind of thing for it, right? You're never.
Yeah, you can't just like stand the sword up in the corner, right?
No,
like it's an old baseball bat. Like I got a couple old like fungo bats chilling in the corner of my sports cave down in the basement. You can't do that with a katana.
No,
right?
you've got to put it in a case.
You've got to get like a stand or like hang it up like on your mantle or something.
So impractical.
What a gift. The most ancient form of respect to give another man a sword. For the record, from the 785 on the text line, those are Lucchese boots.
Okay.
And they're like a fancy Western boot.
All right. There was no picture of them, so I couldn't actually see them.
Yeah, I'm not a big boot guy. I've got like a pair of like snow boots. That's that's the extent of my boot wearing.
Yeah, I got snow boots and a pair of cowboy boots.
Yeah, I've been told cowboy boots are amazingly comfortable, and I will never know.
Yeah.
I will never know. It's not. I would feel like the biggest phony on God's green earth if I put on a pair of cowboy boots. And that I say that with respect to people that do wear cowboy boots, can wear cowboy boots. I would feel like a phony because it just ain't me. It's not my get down. It's not my look. Anyhow, I had to share that story. Let's do some actual headlines. Let's start with the participation report for Chiefs Texans. The final participation report was today. The Chiefs have ruled out both Shamari Connor and DJ Humphries for Saturday's game against the Texans. Neither practiced all week. Connor remains in the concussion protocol. Humphries dealing with a hamstring injury. Sounds like there's a chance both players can make it back for the Christmas Day game against the Steelers, but both are out. Those are the only players with an injury designation for the Chiefs. That means Patrick Mahomes is a full go and Hollywood Brown is a full go. For the Texans, 4 players have been ruled out, including defensive tackle Folorunso Fatukasi, excuse me. He has been ruled out with an ankle injury that he suffered in Sunday's game. Also, Juice Scruggs, starting center, who missed Sunday's game. He is out for a second straight week. Tight end Cade Stover must be really sick. He's listed with an illness, and he didn't practice all week, and he's been ruled out. And wide receiver John Mechie has been ruled out with a shoulder injury. Linebacker Christian Harris injured himself at practice today, it seems like. He was a DNP today with an ankle injury, and he is listed as questionable. No injury designation for anyone else. That means Joe Mixon is a go after being limited throughout the week with veteran rest. That's your participation report for Saturday. Spencer, give me a headline.
Yes. Hutchinson Community College wins JUCO football national title 28-23 over Iowa Western.
What a year for the Blue Dragons. Not only did they win the women's basketball natty in the spring, they take home the football natty. 24 Kansans on the Blue Dragon roster, including a couple with some local ties. Cole Coonrod and Tate Hoover from Manhattan High, Rudy Vargas from Junction City, Dalton Roque out of Sabetha, Holton's Jace Boswell, and former Washburn Ichabod transfer to Hutch, former Leavenworth Pioneer Eddie McLaughlin. So a bit of a local flavor for that Hutch roster. They were ranked number 3 in the country, beat number 1 Iowa Western last night to take the crown.
I will tell you, I turned it on for a little bit because I saw Hutchinson Community College, and I was like, oh, let me tune it in just to see what's up.
Sure.
And they were losing by multiple scores.
So, yeah, they had to rally.
Yeah, they had a big rally in this one. So,
and
shout out to them.
Yeah, great win. Congratulations to Coach Drew Dallas, the rest of that Hutchinson Community College program, for bringing home a national championship. And speaking of junior college, it's in the news after a court ruling granted Diego Pavia, the quarterback of the Vanderbilt Commodores, an injunction that will allow him to prepare to play in the 2025 season, even though he's out of eligibility. Let's explain. Pavia filed a lawsuit against the NCAA in federal court last month, claiming that the organization's eligibility rules for former junior college athletes like himself breaches antitrust laws. He spent the first 2 years of his college career at the New Mexico Military Institute, played 2 seasons at New Mexico State, played this past season at Vanderbilt. That's 5 years. You get the COVID year free. He should be done, right? But Pavia's argument is that junior college years should not count against NCAA eligibility because the NCAA does not oversee junior college athletics, and because doing so and limiting participation as an NCAA athlete limits your access to be able to make NIL money. So Pavia filed this lawsuit, and the injunction was necessary because he wanted to start the process of hammering out an NIL deal to play next year and wasn't going to be able to do that if the court process dragged on much further. So he got the injunction. Pavia estimates he could earn over $1 million from an NIL collective if allowed to play college football in 2025. So this is not a complete win for Pavia. It's just a green light from the judge that he can start preparing for 2025, negotiating for NIL money, evaluating transfer options. He got the injunction because he would have been harmed had he been forced to wait for the case's resolution. But the actual case is still pending, though the judge, William L. Campbell Jr., has signaled a number of times he agrees with the arguments put forward by the plaintiffs, going as far as saying that the NCAA's justification for restricting JUCO players' eligibility, quote, falls flat. If Pavia gains an extra year of eligibility, well, first of all, it would be another 2 years of eligibility because 2 junior college seasons. And number 2, holy Moses, does that open up the floodgates in the short term and maybe even the long term for athletes to go to junior college and not have to count that against your NCAA eligibility and essentially get 2 free years of college athletics and then get to play 4 more at the NCAA level. That's not done, but that might happen.
That is just crazy because you get to like year 8 possible or year 7, I guess, possibility, right? Like of playing college, of playing athletics collegiately, because you get a redshirt year.
Yeah, you have a redshirt year. Yeah, you could have.
So that makes it
and you
7.
Can get,
and then you get medicals.
You could get a medical redshirt, but we've gotten kind of accustomed to that whole idea, right? Like how many years of college did Alan Bowman play? How many years? If Cam Rising takes another year, he'll be on his 8th year. The tight end for Miami, the McCormick kid, had like 8, maybe even 9 years of college eligibility. Like we've seen it. We've seen guys in their mid-20s playing college athletics, and this would just be another route towards potentially seeing more of that in the future. But case not decided, but Diego Pavia can begin to prepare to play in 2025. By the way, Vanderbilt does play Auburn again next year. Look out, Hugh Freeze. He's coming for you. Diego Pavia is Hugh Freeze's personal boogeyman, and I love that for him. Got a headline, Spencer?
Yes, let's shift over to the NFL here. Came out earlier via Adam Schefter that Saints running back Alvin Kamara's groin injury is still being evaluated, but it is possible it is a season-ending injury and that he's played his last down this year per his sources. That's Adam Schefter's sources, which could mean you see Clyde Edwards-Helaire on the field for the Saints because he is signed to their practice squad. We mentioned that the other day. But I would imagine he gets brought up to the active roster if that does indeed happen.
There's no reason to play him if he's hurt, right?
Yeah.
There's certainly no reason to. They've got already a lame duck interim coach. They're going to play Spencer Rattler again at quarterback. May as well, right? I suppose that there would be no reason really to send Alvin Kamara out there. The only thing that really affects is fantasy football playoffs.
Yeah.
To be completely honest with you. One more headline for me today. A couple of top transfer portal quarterbacks have made their choices for their next destination. Number one quarterback in the portal, John Mateer from Washington State. He is committed to Oklahoma. If you didn't watch John Mateer play at Wazoo this past year, he is a trip. He is the platonic ideal of a wild boy college quarterback. Throws it with confidence. The receiver's open, he's throwing it with confidence. Receiver's triple covered, he's throwing it with confidence. He'll run around like a wild man in the backfield, and sometimes he'll even get down the field and make some plays as well. He is entertainment, pure high-octane entertainment. He was 6th among quarterbacks in rushing yards this past season in the FBS, and also threw for 29 touchdowns. Had a top 10 QBR among group of 5 starters. Should have 2 years of eligibility with the Sooners. Also, Colorado is bringing in a transfer portal quarterback. Caden Salter out of Liberty will transfer to Colorado for his final year of eligibility. Accounted for over 6,000 total yards and 66 touchdowns. Asked Paul Myerberg about that on our Big 12 breakdown. He's not particularly impressed with Salter. Doesn't think that he's really a big-time talent. He's maybe more of a system guy at a smaller level, and finds it to be interesting that Colorado would bring in a highly pursued transfer at quarterback because they are bringing in one of the top high school quarterbacks in the country, Juju Lewis, out of the state of Georgia, a 5-star recruit who committed to Colorado a couple of weeks ago. My thought on this is, again, Occam's razor here. Deion Sanders makes every decision based on how is it good for Deion Sanders? What's good for Deion Sanders? He's got a reality show, right? Got that reality show on Amazon Prime, follows the program. You know what's entertaining in a reality show that might get people to watch, might get some clicks, might get people talking about Deion Sanders, keep people talking about Deion Sanders? A quarterback competition. That's what this is. This is for reality TV. Everything Deion does is for the show. Everything Prime does is for the Prime show, featuring Prime, on Prime, featuring Prime. And I think this is what that's exactly what this is. He's bringing in a guy to compete with Juju Lewis because it will make good TV. I don't know that it will make his team go 9-3 again next year. They had 2 generational guys, including maybe the generational guy in Travis Hunter, and they went 9-3. We'll see how it looks next year with whoever they end up with a quarterback. It'll probably be the freshman, I would imagine. We'll take a break. We'll come back with Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs. He joins us next on 580 Sports Talk. 527 on 580 Sports Talk, and we are pleased to be joined on this Thursday afternoon by the voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. He joins us throughout the NFL season thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Contact Crystal Rippey, Kirsten McCall, or Kristen Ambergy about the credit union advantage in getting your first or next home loan. And boy, Mitch, did we ever hit the nail on the head last week when you were discussing with Trent McDuffie the idea of a Chiefs defense that needed to get its swagger back? Well, one really good way to do that is to turn a team over 6 times, as the Chiefs did in a 21-7 win over the Browns. I would say swagger reacquired, emphatically so.
Honestly, yeah, and they got it done in different ways. To get that first one with knocking the ball out on a punt return by Christian Roland Wallace, and then to come back and get a really athletic interception from Brian Cook, and it looked like he was playing free. Honestly, and then, so I think, yeah, it just lived up to, hang on just a second.
Yeah, you bet. Mitch Holthus is joining us here on 580 Sports Talk. No worries.
Yeah, we're here. So I think, yeah, it lived up to the prophecy that Trent had. Now you hope they can carry over and continue on and let her rip.
The turnovers, as you mentioned, it wasn't just, there are occasions where the quarterback just throws you the ball. Like the last interception, Jaden Hicks, first career interception, that was a sailed pass, and Hicks was in the right spot, made the catch, hauled it in, and ended the game right there. But the plays that the Chiefs had to make, Chanel punching out the fumble, McDuffie's first career interception along the sideline, Brian Cook going up top to pick off that pass in the end zone, the ball hawking that was necessary for the Chiefs to create those turnovers, that's the thing that's really kind of been in absence. And it was nice to see the Chiefs prove that they can still do it.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point, and the fact that they were kind of looking to do it. And I think that goes back to our thesis of a week ago where, okay, I'm in the right place at the right time, but do I make a play? And more emphasis on doing things correctly than just turning it loose. And I really thought that was the essence of Trent's statement. That's why I used it, because it's like, well, go for it here. I mean, that's really what that's the way Houston plays, interestingly enough. So, yeah, and now you hope that it can carry over and take the ball away from Houston, which has been a little bit turnover prone themselves, not to the level of Jameis Winston. But C.J. Stroud is not having the year he had a year ago as a rookie.
Mitch Holthus is our guest here on 580 Sports Talk, voice of the Chiefs, joining us, courtesy of Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Obviously, offensively, the game ended for the Chiefs on a sour note with the injury to Patrick Mahomes. He's able to practice in full throughout this week, and not an injury designation for Patrick, so he is lined up to play on Saturday, which is obviously a big sigh of relief. But what can the Chiefs take away from the 14-play, 87-yard drive that produced the touchdown that made it 14-0 late in the first half? That's the kind of drive we feel like with this personnel and this coaching staff, we ought to be seeing more of from this Chiefs offense. How can they take that drive and continue to build on it and deliver results like that more consistently as the season winds down?
Well, if you go back to that drive, they were balanced, and I thought they got unbalanced when Pat had the 8 straight incompletions to start the third quarter, and they only ran 47 seconds off the clock in 2 possessions with a 21-0 lead. So being balanced was key on that touchdown drive. And then the quick game, if you think of the touchdown, so the ball was coming out quickly. Now, it was different with Cleveland than it was the week before with the Chargers, because the Chargers were more of a zone team, whereas Cleveland's very much a man-to-man team. So your quick game becomes a little bit different. It's not quite as quick. The ball doesn't come out quite as fast, but you also can get you can get some pick routes and do things differently. Now, Houston mixes it up, but you're going to get some zone coverage with Houston where you can get that quick game going in the passing game and then utilize your perimeter / run pass game. Think of the 21-yard touchdown to Xavier Worthy, which they ruled as a run, saying the pass was line of scrimmage. But think about that. Your ball's out fast. you leave the pass rushers, basically, you make them chase, and you're blocking downfield, and Worthy's so fast, and you're going to have Hollywood Brown here in this game a little bit. So you've got two fast guys going vertical, but you also can get them going horizontal and get the ball out quickly, and that helps your blockers.
Joined by Mitch Holthus, voice of the Chiefs here on 580 Sports Talk. And Mitch, you just mentioned it, likely having Hollywood Brown back, barring any setbacks. And it seems as if he's not going to be on a snap count via kind of how Andy Reid spoke today. It's because he's got his legs under him. It was a shoulder injury. How much do you anticipate them to maybe try to air it out to him this week? And what is he going to bring to this team trying to in his first real action in regular season?
Well, that second vertical threat is something that has got to be on the radar of Houston. Now, I don't think he's going to run 50 routes in this game. I know there's not going to be a snap count, but I also don't think they're going to try to, run him into the ground. That's not going to happen because he still has to take a hit. I mean, he hasn't taken a hit since he got injured in that first preseason game. So there is going to be a little bit of caution there, but it helps DeAndre Hopkins. It helps Juju Smith-Schuster. It helps Noah Gray. It helps Kelsey to get that second vertical threat. And then he's got the ability to run routes and run intermediate routes. He's not just going to run go routes. So I think we think of Hollywood as just a straight line route runner, and that's not necessarily the case. But I do think it's going to open up all the angles and length and width of the field even more than it has been.
Sticking on the offensive side of the ball, offensive line, obviously DJ Humphries not able to go last week, won't be able to go again this week. How much is Joe Thuney like a all-around team MVP for what he's been able to do, move outside? And, I heard this week All-Pro center A.Q. Shipley kind of talking about what that means to move to a different position and still play at such a high level. How much is Thuney meaning to this team right now?
Tons. I mean, he's saving them right now. This to me is the comparison of the 171 wrestler having to wrestle up at 186, or what are the Kansas weights? Is it 170 to 185? And because you don't want to lose 6 points. I know Smith Center does this where they've got to fill a weight and somebody's got to wrestle up. Well, it's no fun to wrestle up. But if you can hold your own, you're going to help your team win the duel, if that makes sense. I've used that analogy a lot, and everybody kind of shakes their head like, wow, I didn't think about that, but that's the deal here. Because honestly, Thuney's a left guard. He's not a left tackle. He doesn't have left tackle size. And you could watch the video and just watch Myles Garrett going like, man, dude, how much do you weigh? Because I'm just going to blow you up. But Thuney's footwork was such where he wasn't getting beat in the split second that, let's say, Nick Benito was doing against Wanye Morris, or earlier in the year that Sam Henriksen did to Kingsley Suamataia. So you've got a guy wrestling up, basically. He's helping you. That's the best analogy I can give you. And he's taken one for the team, but he's doing a really good job.
Our guest is Mitch Holthus, voice of the Kansas City Chiefs, joining us as he does every Thursday throughout the NFL season here on 580 Sports Talk, sponsored by Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Let's pivot our focus to this Saturday. The Houston Texans are the opponent, and we'll get to the matchup between the Chiefs offense and what is an outstanding Texans defense. But I know you had a chance to speak to Justin Reid earlier this week, and the Chiefs are trying to continue a run of solid play against an offense that can really test you in a lot of different ways.
Yeah, and Justin knows. He wasn't a teammate with all these guys, but he was there in 2021. But Justin really kind of lays it out about this team and what the Chiefs have to do, and he starts with getting after it in a physical nature.
The first part about this game will be who's the more physical team, who's going to set the tone, who's going to punch the other person in the mouth first. And that's what we're going to set out to do. And then once it comes down to that and the game starts to settle down, it's all about execution. Nico Collins likes to run deep routes. Tank Dell is very shifty in and out routes, having sticky coverage there in the man coverage situation when we need it. Joe Mixon in the run game, dynamic guy, but it's about bottling him up. Our defensive line is going to have to do a great job on the front side. You know what I mean? It's a game, all hands on deck. This is an early playoff game for us, and it's the atmosphere that we need to play for.
He put it out there. It feels like an early playoff game, the playoffs before the playoffs, but he laid it out there. They got weapons. And you look at Nico Collins, he's like a 400-meter runner. He's got this long stride, runs great routes. Tank Dell's fast, a threat in punt returns as well. And Joe Mixon. Joe Mixon's got 7 100-yard rushing games and a touchdown in each of those games. The only guy that has equal to that in the league is Saquon Barkley. So there's a lot of weapons with this team. C.J. Stroud's been a bit of a mystery. They're not protecting him. It's very similar to what the Chiefs have. With Patrick Mahomes getting hit so much, C.J. Stroud's getting hit a lot. And his numbers are way off his Rookie of the Year performance last year when he had 23 touchdowns and just 5 picks. He's got 13 giveaways this year, which is 8th most in the NFL.
That is the matchup on that side of the ball. The other challenge for the Chiefs will be against this Texans defense that is third in EPA per play in the NFL, performing like an elite group, second in the NFL in takeaways, second in the NFL in sacks. What challenge is the biggest one that the Chiefs have to overcome if they want to be successful moving the ball against these Texans?
They're so fast. Now, I told you about getting the ball out quickly and making those pass rushers or the bigs recover. Well, these guys can recover, but they're so fast getting upfield, different than Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett might be the best guy in the league right now when you have a blend of power and athleticism. But these two guys, Danielle Hunter and Will Anderson Jr., are not far behind. And then their inside guys get involved. And they take the ball away. They take chances. Darryl Stingley Jr. is the only guy in the league that has 5+ interceptions over the last 2 years. They have 29 takeaways. That is second only to the Minnesota Vikings. But they're a little bit like Jameis Winston on defense. They're kind of feast or famine. They've given up a ton of big plays, and but they love to take the ball away. So you can't. And the Chiefs, and my first nugget of the night is they've had 0 giveaways the last 4 games. That's been the best since Alex Smith, weeks 2 through 7, 2017. You cannot give it away in this game. You cannot. You've got to be, and these guys will try to take it away, but they'll give you some big plays where they'll gamble on interception, and you may get a big play you weren't counting on, because if you can get the ball away from them when they gamble, you can get a big, long touchdown or a big play.
All right, Mitch, last thing. You just gave us one of your nuggets of the night. No turnovers the last 4 games for the Chiefs. What other nuggets stand out to you as interesting trends or things to watch for when the Chiefs take on the Texans?
Let me give you several here. The Chiefs have won the last 3 games and haven't scored over 21 points. That's not happened in their history since weeks 2, 3, and 4 in 1973. That's pretty crazy. Xavier Worthy is only one of 3 players in the past 30 years to have 3+ receiving touchdowns. He's got 4 and 3 rushing touchdowns. They ruled out a rush last week in his rookie season. The other 2 that did it in the last 30 years with Xavier Worthy, Tyreek Hill in 2016 and Deebo Samuel in 2019. That's pretty good company.
Mm-hmm.
And then CJ Stroud, I mentioned this year getting sacked 45 times. The pressure rate on him is like 27%. His QBR is down by 10 points, but he is only one of 4 top 5 picks. Remember, he was a top 5 pick since 1970 to have 40+ passing touchdowns and a winning record his first 2 seasons. And one of those 4 is Carson Wentz. So it's kind of fun there. And the fact that DeMeco Ryans, their head coach, and CJ Stroud are the only head coach quarterback combination to win their division the first 2 years they were in those roles.
They have already wrapped up their division, just like the Kansas City Chiefs have, and it's an early playoff atmosphere at Arrowhead Stadium for Saturday afternoon. A noon kick means an 11 a.m. pregame on the Chiefs Radio Network. Mitch Holthus, the voice of the Chiefs, will have the call. He joins us Thursdays on 580 Sports Talk, thanks to Hy-Vee and Azura Credit Union. Mitch, have a great call Saturday. We'll talk again on Monday ahead of that Christmas Day game. Have a great weekend and a great call.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
That is Mitch Holthus. We will step aside for a break, but first, I want to tell you folks about my friends at Great Life in Topeka. 2 common New Year's resolutions for men of my generation. Get in better shape, get better at golf. You can do both. You don't have to choose. You can do them both with a Great Life membership with access to their 8 fitness centers, gleaming equipment, any kind of weight, workout tool, fitness, apparatus machine that you can imagine available at their workout facilities, and also 5 outstanding golf courses that a ton of work has been put in on, and the golfing at Great Life gets better and better each year. The courses are still in good shape right now, even though it's the dead of winter. The courses are still in outstanding shape. I can attest. Memberships make great gift ideas. And again, why not 2 New Year's resolutions this year? Get in better shape and get better at golf with Great Life in Topeka. Visit greatlifetopeka.com for more information and think about becoming an all-inclusive member because the benefits are outstanding. We'll take a break here on 580 Sports Talk. When we come back, Thursday Night Football is tonight. We'll break it down and tell you who's getting screwed tonight by the flex scheduling. That's next on 580 WIBW. .546 on 580 Sports Talk. Dan and Spencer rounding the turn, finishing up this Thursday edition of the show. We got a little overtime for you. We'll re-rack our overtime conversation of the day with Paul Myerberg, our Big 12 breakdown, before we send it to Westwood One's coverage of Thursday Night Football to begin Week 16 of the NFL season. It's the Denver Broncos at the Los Angeles Chargers. Chargers are 2.5-point favorites going for the season series sweep of Denver, who right now is ahead of the Chargers by a game in the AFC standings. The total is 41.5. Kind of like the under here. 2 really good defenses. I don't think it's going to be a high possession game. And with the sloppiness that you sometimes get on Thursday nights, add all that up, and I think we're kind of going to get a scrappy affair tonight in Los Angeles. The Athletic reported earlier this week on a group of fans who have really been screwed over by the NFL's decision to flex this game from Sunday to Thursday. The league approved a proposal back in 2023 that a game could be flexed late in the season from Sunday to Thursday. And the flex required 28 days notice from the league office and would only be in effect for 2023 unless it was not applied in 2023. It wasn't applied in 2023, so it remained in effect for 2024, and this is the first time it has been enacted. And there are stories, naturally, for fans who have made travel plans to go to Los Angeles and see this game, or have friends or family come out to this game and now cannot go to the game because it's not on a Sunday. There's a story about a Chargers fan whose son is stationed in Kansas in the Army, and his military leave begins December 20th. That's tomorrow. They were going to go to the game together on Sunday. Father only gets to see son at most twice a year because his son is in the Army. But unfortunately, they won't be able to go to the game because it's tonight, and his son's leave starts tomorrow. There are lots of other stories like this, too. Roger Goodell said before this proposal passed back in 2023, there isn't anybody in any of our organizations that doesn't put our fans first. This is not a fan-friendly thing to do, is decide a month ahead of time. It's one thing to say, oh, yeah, the day game is a night game now. Like college football does that. Now you have the 6-day selections, right? You don't know until Monday or Sunday what the Saturday game, when it's going to kick off. But at least you know what day it is. To move a game from Sunday to Thursday, and especially the timing of it because it's around the holidays and it's really hard to change flights, and it's late to the point where you can't really cancel your flights. It is maybe the most fan-unfriendly thing I can think of a professional sports league doing. And it sucks. And I feel for anybody who had plans altered or can't go to this game or can't have the company they expected to have accompany them to this game tonight as a result. I just think it stinks. And I hope the NFL goes away from this. Because
they've used it. They've used their one mulligan.
Right. And I guess it was never meant to be permanent, right? It's meant to be like a trial.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will disappear because this is, again, I am hard pressed to think of anything that's more fan unfriendly than saying, even if you moved it to a Saturday, right? Like they announced the schedule for week 17 and which games on week 17 are going to be Saturday games. And they're going to do that again for week 18. They're going to have a Saturday doubleheader, I think, in week 18 as well.
Yeah, but I think...
But Saturday and Sunday are at least in close enough proximity that it doesn't blow your travel plans to smithereens, like moving a game to the middle of the work week 3 days earlier.
Yeah, I mean, that is that, but the last 2 weeks are unscheduled days, I believe.
Right.
I will say, for fans watching on the Prime Video app, that is a lot better matchup than what you were supposed to get of the Bengals hosting the Browns.
I would have rather watched Bengals-Browns. At least you could see Joe Burrow. Like, I understand. Look, the league is always going to do what is best for its TV partners because their money spends. And our money, our $100 tickets and our $12 beers and our $50 parking, it doesn't stretch as far as however many million it is per game that Amazon Prime is paying. So that's who gets priority. The TV partners always take priority over you, the fan, and it's a real shame that this in particular is just such a thumb in the eye to the kinds of fans who are loyal enough to your product to travel to see it, to cross time zones, to travel cross country, to arrange plans around a holiday weekend to go and see your product and to tell them, sorry, we don't care. That sucks. It's just another reason to dislike the powers that be in the NFL. I think the Chargers win tonight, by the way, for whatever it's worth. I think a low-scoring game, but I think the Chargers find a way to win. Spence?
I think the Chargers win in this one. I think they are going to go to the playoffs this year as one of the last wild cards. I don't think the Broncos make it.
You think the Broncos make the playoffs? All they need is one more win.
I don't think so.
You don't think you're going to lose out?
I think so.
Wow.
And that's because I don't like Sean Payton.
Fair enough. I don't like him either. We'll take a break, come back, and wrap up this edition of 580 Sports Talk. Final word time on 580 Sports Talk. Spencer Dupuis.
Yes. The Chiefs are going to go be at home Saturday. They're going to take on the Texans. We talked to Mitch Holthus about this. And they're going to go in there without another left tackle. And it appears that DJ Humphries, according to Nate Taylor on his podcast, will be back for the Christmas Day game. But just want to, again, give a big shout out to what they're doing at left tackle right now, and Joe Thuney being able to come in there and while he's getting manhandled by the defensive lineman, still stick it out and do it for the team. And that you need guys like that. And he's the Chiefs MVP right now in my book.
I loved Mitch Holthus' analogy, the wrestler wrestling up in a weight class for his team. It's definitely wrestling up for Joe Thuney right now, but yeah, deserves a ton of credit for that. I learned a lot on 580 Sports Talk today. I learned that Woody Johnson, who is an old man, trusts Madden ratings to try and build his roster, and no wonder his roster stinks. And also, I learned that an 18-year-old might actually be running the New York Jets, which is a wild thing. I learned that Rashee Rice's mom had her charges dropped, did a little diversion, paid restitution. Good for her. I also learned, and this is the most important thing, buying someone a sword is the most ancient form of respect. You take nothing else away from this show. Joe Burrow bought his O-lineman swords, and Orlando Brown says that's the most ancient form of respect. So there you go. If you really respect someone, buy him a sword this holiday season. We got some overtime next, followed by Thursday Night Football. We'll be back tomorrow from 3 to 6. For Spencer, I'm Dan. This is 580 Sports Talk.